Lewis, Bucky Brooks, Lance Zierlein back here with you. Guys, we've been talking about the Bears and the potential of Caleb Williams being the #1 pick, and then we could go quarterback for the first 3 picks for the 4th time in NFL history. I think one of the biggest questions, Bucky, is when does that next one, right? And do we get 4 in a row for the first time? Doesn't seem likely at this point, but we're going to have some fun with those first 3 picks.
We are going to have some fun. We talk about quarterbacks driving the interest in the draft. There's a lot of intrigue around this quarterback class because we talked about as many as 6 quarterbacks could go in the first round, but everyone wants to know. We know about the big 3. Who's going to be 4 and when is 4 going to go? The Giants are a team to watch.
There's been a lot of Giants buzz today, Lance Zierlein. At 6, what do they do? Stick and pick a receiver, try to move up to 3, or move down perhaps. We'll see.
I think it's really going to be interesting because the draft is really going to start with New England. And New England, if they decide to stick and pick, and that's kind of the intel right now, is they're going to stick and pick. And if it becomes Drake May, I think the Giants could switch. You know, there's some rumblings that they may not be as, inclined to draft J.J. McCarthy at that number 3 spot in a trade up, or number 4 spot, or even number 6 spot. So I think this draft is going to be, a lot of us had quarterback. We thought there was going to be a 4-team run. I don't know what Arizona does now. Does Trader Monty go back again, or does he say, I'm not giving up one of these really good wide receivers like Neighbors or Dunze or Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think he may just stick and pick at number 4. So it's about to be fun.
You're going to get a dang good receiver if that's where you're going at number 4. We certainly expect. So with that, let's head to the draft hall for the first time.
Go! We waited 6 years to say this. Welcome to the NFL Draft in Detroit. Let's go, Big D. How you like that? Em, I was just kidding about the rap battle. We're going to save that for another day. But the pride of Detroit has got a little some surprise for you, and bringing out a few other surprises for you. So, Em, here you go. Detroit! What up? It's here. Make some noise for the Detroit Lions. Let's go!
Yo, what up, Detroit? Hey, this is crazy. I can't believe it. But before we get off the stage, I need to hear one thing. Jared Goff. Jared Goff. Jared Goff.
What's up, Detroit? Let's go, baby!
Hey, Detroit, let's turn up tonight, baby. Let's get it.
What's up, Detroit? What's up, football fans? Thank you for showing the world how we do it here in Detroit. Great job, guys.
I just got one thing to say. What up, though?
All right, Detroit. Come on. Okay. Detroit, We got fans from 32 teams right down here, and of course all the Detroit faithful in the back. Welcome to all of you, and most importantly, thank you to Detroit. You guys have been awesome. All right, you ready to get the show on the road? Okay, the 2024 NFL Draft is now underway. The Chicago Bears are now on the clock.
Boy, it feels like we have waited months to hear those words from Roger Goodell. The Bears are now on the clock as you look at Lance Zierlein's best available. And, like, this is the part I love, Lance, because a quarterback is not your number one overall player.
No.
It is Malik Neighbors, but he is not going to go number one.
No, he's not going to go number one. But after watching the tape, I just let the tape speak, and I think Neighbors and Harrison basically are 1A and 1B. But right behind him is Caleb Williams. But then right behind Caleb Williams is Jaden Daniels, and it's very close. And I know we'll get a chance to talk a little bit more in depth about Jaden Daniels.
No question. And with that, let's check out the Draft Cam presented by Expedia, which takes us into the draft room of the Chicago Bears. Front and center right there, Ryan Poles, general manager of the Bears, making that number one overall pick. Matt Eberflus right there to his left, head coach of the Bears, back for another season here. And we'll have a new quarterback here, we expect, in about 8 minutes. But, Bucky, it doesn't look like they're working super hard right there, which means the hay is in the barn.
Very calm.
So what is happening inside that draft room right now, do you think?
Okay, so they've done all the conversations. They've had all that. They know who the pick is going to be. One scout is assigned to make sure that they pick up the phone and call Caleb Williams. They want to make sure they get Caleb Williams on the line, make sure he's good, everything is there. They're about to tell him, like, hey, we're about to take you with our number one overall pick, and it's going to be a lot of fun. They will wait a little bit to get that done, but look, the hay's in the barn. We are just waiting to see Caleb Williams hear his name called, and he become an official Bear.
So nobody wants to take one more look at the tape, just real quick.
We're all done. Look, it's easy. They should have done all the work. They knew who the pick was going to be, and they only brought one quarterback in to visit, so we
That's
know.
right. We got a pretty
he's
good
the
idea
pick.
that is the pick. And then the draft will start to get really interesting as curiosity builds over who will be the next player to leave the green room there in Detroit. 13 players inside the green room there in Detroit, including Caleb Williams. Live on the ground there, who will walk across the stage in a matter of moments. We'll have a hug with Roger Goodell, and then we'll take a picture with that jersey for the first time. But, if it is Caleb Williams at 1, who comes number 2 to the Commanders, who then goes 3 to the Patriots? All 3 of the top quarterbacks that we've talked about, Jaden and Drake, are all there in Detroit as well. But as for the Bears here, Lance, they obviously knew that this was going to be a moment that they were going to have here, an opportunity to reset their quarterback clock, to reset their quarterback salary, and then to move Justin Fields to Pittsburgh. Got a little bit in return for him, and now hoping to put the franchise on the shoulders of a new quarterback.
Yeah, frankly, it was the only move Chicago could make, to be honest with you. I mean, you have a talented quarterback in Caleb Williams, and most importantly, as you mentioned, you have a chance to go with your quarterback. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus did not draft Justin Fields. And if you are going to succeed or if you're going to fail as a general manager and head coach, at some point you want to do it with your guy, your signal caller, and you want that to be your defining moment. And, when you added everything together, it really made the most sense to draft Caleb Williams, start all over. I think he's a more accomplished passer coming out from the pocket. He's not the perfect prospect. I know there was a lot of talk about generational this and that, and as Bucky will tell you, there's not a lot of generational anything. It gets used a lot, the word does, but the talent that Caleb Williams has, and we'll get into it here in just a second, the talent that he has can uplift the Chicago Bears, I believe, in the same way that that we saw C.J. Stroud uplift the Houston Texans, provided that Ryan Poles continues to build around him.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you make, right? And then because they're going to have an opportunity to build around him in 8 picks if they stay there at number 9, which is kind of a rarity, right, for a team taking a quarterback at number 1 overall. By the way, I thought our ace researcher John Todd, who's with us over the course of the next couple of days, mentioned the Bears will be just the 4th team in the common draft era to trade for a future 1 and then to have that 1 become number 1 overall. First time it's happened since the '84 draft. Obviously, they're in this position because of the trade they made with the Carolina Panthers. Panthers moved up to 1 last year, got Bryce Young. Bears moved back, but now The Panthers pick is the one that they are making here at 1. They are going to make their own pick at 9. Bucky, rare opportunity to reshape your franchise here.
Yeah, rare opportunity. And when you're picking number 1 overall, what you're hoping for is, look, that there is a gold jacket caliber player that's going to be available at the number 1 overall pick. It's a franchise changer, and this is an opportunity for the Bears to finally hit a home run on a quarterback. And so after they did all the research and after they've done the study and had all the conversations, if Caleb Williams is the pick, you're hoping he can be a transcendent player that really guides this franchise for the next decade plus into a lot of success and to championship contention.
Yeah, no question. All right. When do you think the Bears kind of settled in on Caleb Williams? Like, obviously we were at the Pro Day, had it for you live here on NFL Plus. It was clear they had a huge contingent there. Keenan Allen even shows up, right? Lance, as you're going through this process, how clear and how quickly do you think it would become, if, of course, they still got to make the pick, right? Mm-hmm. But how clearly and how quickly do you think they settled in on who their guy was going to be?
I think it's probably earlier than they would tell you.
Yeah.
If you really want to know the truth. I think, you have to remember that one of the confidants who left the Kansas City Chiefs, Trey Koziel, he was a scout there, a really good scout, and then he went with Ryan Poles over there. He knows Caleb Williams well. He knows Rome Odunze really well as well. And I think that, when you have a guy that you've studied a lot, and then you bring that guy in the building, and remember, Ryan Poles came from over in Kansas City. They all saw the difference that Pat Mahomes makes, and I know the comparisons are out there, but when you think about all of that and you put it together, I think really in their mind, they look at Caleb Williams and probably sometime very early in the process, he was the front runner, and there was never a reason for him not to be the front runner. Jaden Daniels' tape is great, but I don't think there was ever any time where Jaden Daniels overtook Caleb Williams
on whole body
work, serious conversation about, I'm not sure who we're going to take here. I think it was always Caleb Williams, honestly.
Yeah, and so we're going to find out in a matter of seconds because the pick is now in for the Chicago Bears. Wow. They are ready to announce to their fan base who will be the next quarterback. They hope to bring them to a Super Bowl to win playoff games. The last time they won a playoff game, Jay Cutler was the quarterback.
Oh, Jay.
Yeah, in the NFC Championship game. Lost to the Green Bay Packers the year that they went on to win the Super Bowl. Before that, Rex Grossman, right, took them to a Super Bowl as well. So will this pick represent the next quarterback to lead the Chicago Bears to the promised land, to the postseason and beyond? Now we go back to the podium and Roger Goodell.
With the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams, quarterback, Southern California.
There it is. The wire-to-wire projection at number 1 is no longer a prospect. Caleb Williams is a professional and the next quarterback of the Chicago Bears. And as he makes that walk, gets a little high five from Jaden Daniels, who could very well be making that walk next, but Caleb makes the walk out. He will cross that stage, give a hug to Roger Goodell, and become the future of the Chicago Bears. And this is a guy who has been in the spotlight at USC, who has been in the spotlight of college football since he took over midway through the 2021 season, replacing Spencer Rattler as a member of the Oklahoma Sooners, then followed Lincoln Riley to USC, and now you get that outburst of emotion, the yell, the scream, the hug, and that's what this moment, that's what this night is about, the celebration. After all the drama, the intrigue, the mystery, the chaos, Caleb Williams is, in fact, the number 1 overall pick, and he is headed to Chicago.
He's taken on some water with his personality or whatever. I like it. I like what I just saw from him. I like the energy he brings to the table. And you guys have to remember something here. He is a creative playmaker. It says it right there. He's twitchy. He's the home run hitter. But what you're looking at with Caleb Williams is he has the dramatic ability to be a playmaker inside the pocket and a playmaker outside the pocket. He puts nice air under the deep ball, as you see right here. That deep touch is something that sets him apart. The elite arm talent, the ability to throw throw across the body. That's usually not going to be something a quarterback coach likes a lot, but he can get away with it. He's got the ability to reset on the move and create a new pocket outside or just fling it while he's on the move, throwing left and right. And then finally, his ability as a dynamic runner. It says right here, and I happen to agree with this, his ability, Bucky, to not just win inside the pocket, but to get outside of the pocket and make big plays happen is something that really sets him apart.
So Caleb Williams from USC now to the Chicago Bears as the #1 overall pick. Bucky, it is the easy pick presented by Bud Light.
Yeah, I mean, look, this was an easy one. It was an easy one going all the way back to the fall. This was the guy that was the presumptive QB1 of this draft class, going all the way back from the time he won the Heisman Trophy. And look, didn't have the year that he wanted team-wise, but you still saw the flashes on tape that separates him from others. Outstanding arm talent, great IQ, the creativity is there, and more importantly, he has the moxie and the clutch playmaking ability that every quarterback coach and offensive coordinator wants. This is the dude. Chicago Bears have hit a home run on their quarterback. Now they got to make sure they set him up for a lot of success.
I'm going to give you a stat. You talk about clutch playmaking. A stat that blew me away when I was going through some of the data points. Over the last 2 years, he had 46 touchdowns to 1 interception in the red zone. 46 touchdowns, and that includes a 32-1 in 2022. This year, I think he struggled to maybe do a little too much, Bucky. He tried to take too much on his shoulders, a little bit too much hero ball. But when you look at 46 touchdowns to 1 interception, taking care of the football in the most important area of the field, I mean, that is an exceptional number. I've never seen anything quite like that.
And there's the pick. The pick and the player and the selection that the Bears have known we expect for quite some time as Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus all get the hugs and the handshakes and the rounds of applause as they made that call to Caleb Williams, letting him know that he would be their next franchise quarterback. Bears fans erupt, although there was some mixed emotion when they traded Justin Fields. Some had thought they were building something there with his dynamic ability as a runner. And make no mistake, Caleb Williams can run with the football, right? Not quite the way that Justin Fields did, but it does represent, that creativity that we were talking about, right? That home run ability. I guess, Bucky, the knock that we've had on Caleb Williams is too much looking for touchdown. Take the first down every now and then because they ultimately lead to the paint.
Yeah, if you look at his last season, his final season at SC, it was a little too much sandlot. It was a lot of working outside of structure. And the question that you have as an evaluator is, can he be a disciplined and detailed playmaker? Can he stay within the rhythm of the offense so that the play caller is able to give a rhythm when he's trying to put together the game plan? I think that's an easy fix. I think it's one of those things that Ryan Poles benefits from watching Pat Mahomes' progression. Not saying that they're the same player, but when Pat Mahomes was coming out of Texas Tech, those were some of the questions that hounded him. Could he play within a structured offense? Well, Ryan Poles had an opportunity to see Patrick Mahomes grow from being that creative playmaker to being a more disciplined and detailed artist within the pocket. I think what you do is the give and take that you have with Caleb Williams. Hey, we want you to be you, but make sure we stay on schedule, stay within the offense, and more importantly, let's take care of the football.
And look, this is a guy that understood that every time he was walking onto the field, most of the time, the defense had just given up a big play or a touchdown, and it was on him and on that offense to answer, so you understand some of the weight that he had put on his shoulders to make those insane plays for USC to get those wins. All right. So it's Caleb Williams at 1. Who's the next player to leave the green room? Is it that next quarterback we certainly expect with the Washington Commanders? Now 2:27 left on the clock, although it does look like their pick is perhaps now in as that clock went away. Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, new era of Washington Commander football here. And Lance Zierlein, we've talked about the options here. Was it Jaden Daniels or Drake May? How do you ultimately see this?
I think it's Jaden Daniels. And for me, on tape, he had the best tape of any quarterback. And I mean, that includes Caleb Williams, that includes Drake May, it includes J.J. McCarthy, anybody you want to mention, Michael Penix. The best tape in 2024 was for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
And what makes it special is that he's a true run-pass quarterback. He's a true dual-threat quarterback. A lot of times on dual-threat quarterbacks, you'll have that slider that goes a little more to the run side, not as much to the pass side. He's got a nice balance of run and pass, and And I think that the 5 years of experience is something we're going to talk about, but 5 years of starting experience, that is a really big deal to me in taking over a franchise like Washington. He's been through the ups and downs.
I think it's important.
Yeah, of course. And we're going to have the pick here for you in just a moment. So the Washington Commanders perhaps ready to turn their franchise over to a new signal caller as well. And with that, we get the pick now from Commissioner Roger Goodell.
With the second pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Jayden Daniels, quarterback, LSU.
The Washington Commanders, over the course of the last 4 or 5 months, have been linked to just about every quarterback in this draft. Would they ponder a trade up to number 1 to try to get Caleb Williams? If they stayed there at 2, was it Daniels or Drake May, or could they in fact favor J.J. McCarthy? No. It is, in fact, the 2023 Heisman Trophy winner. So the last 2 Heisman Trophy winners now go back-to-back. 2022's winner, Caleb Williams, won. Now Jayden Daniels, just shy of 5,000 yards in 2023 to lead FBS, only player with the 40-plus pass touchdowns and 10-plus rushing touchdowns, an absolutely incredible athlete with a big-time arm and utilized some big-time weapons on the outside who will hear their names called here shortly as well as Tiger teammates. The hat is on. The new era is upon the Washington Commanders. And as Jayden Daniels makes that walk out onto the stage, another outburst of emotion and big hug and dap up with Commissioner Roger Goodell. And so with that, Jayden Daniels becomes the next quarterback to pilot the Washington Commanders franchise. This after they sent Sam Howell on his way, traded him to Seattle, clearing the runway for a new quarterback here, Bucky, and Jayden Daniels is that man.
Yeah, Jayden Daniels is that man. And the interesting thing about Jayden Daniels, Lance alluded to it, it is rare that you find a guy who has A-plus arm talent and A-plus running skills. But Jayden Daniels is a bit of a unicorn at the position. 12,000-plus pass yards, 3,000-plus rush yards. And what I love about him is the steady progression that he made from his time at Arizona State through his time at LSU. Touch, accuracy, timing, he displays that. Consistently drops the ball down the bucket on those deep throws. Has the vision where he can throw with anticipation and timing. We saw it time and time again during his tenure at LSU. Yes, he has some talented playmakers around him, but he might have been the biggest playmaker on that offense. Being able to break the pocket, he can create impromptu runs, design quarterback runs. He has all that, but also the ability to really just stay in the pocket and make those plays. This is the new school quarterback, the prototypical quarterback that we're seeing, where it's a dynamic athlete that also is a refined pocket passer. Excited to see what Jayden Daniels does in Washington.
I think the thing that really stands out to me is you look at the footwork, and it's important to him. I mean, he's really worked on it, and you'll notice the footwork is really good. He finds his platforms when he throws. He goes through progressions. A lot of people have banged on him about getting out of the pocket too quickly. I think if he just sees an opening, he wants to go get 25 yards, and often he does.
And he can.
And
That's
he
the
can.
thing. Yeah.
And I don't think it's, if you really watch him, he can get through progressions. He can go 3, 4 deep. He can get all the way through his progressions. He can sit there and get his feet the way that he needs to. I think, throwing outside the numbers to me can be a little bit of a problem, and sometimes pushing a deep ball, it'll come up a little light on the gas at times. But I love his command of the offense, and I love the way he gets himself protected at the line of scrimmage, which is a very underrated skill for quarterbacks coming out of college. He commands the field like an NFL quarterback, and that's what I really.
Yeah,
he does. I didn't, but that's why you're in the lead seat. You worked up on these puns.
You missed it. He said pilot the franchise.
Come on.
I've been
missing all
sleeping on all these.
You're into your notes and your scouting reports. He's over here giving us all kinds of metaphors and clues. Yeah.
You know what? The Commanders, a phenomenal video they put out on social media today, essentially announcing that they would retire Darrell Green's number 28, and he was kind of surprised by it. He was giving an impassioned plea to those next Commanders players that were going to be drafted today as those that would carry on the tradition of Washington football there in the nation's capital. I thought that was really cool today to understand that. So surely Darrell Green will be smiling, and this is a big time moment for Bucky, a new power structure, right? Ownership at the top, certainly. Cleaning the deck with general manager and with head coach. Bringing in Adam Peters, who has helped oversee some phenomenal draft picks in San Francisco the last few years. And then, look, Dan Quinn was a winner. Say what you want about how the Super Bowl unfolded, but he got Atlanta there, and now they have the quarterback that can help them, kind of reinvigorate that success that they had at previous destinations.
Yeah, they certainly can do it. There you see Urban Magic Johnson welcome
part of the ownership group
to the Commanders. And here's what I think we've learned. Adam Peters learned from the mistake with Trey Lance. Trey Lance didn't have a lot of experience. And then you think about Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn had his most success with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan entered the league as an experienced player. Even though Dan Quinn didn't draft him, I think that certainly factors in. When you have an experienced player that has a lot of success, it makes you want to replicate that. I think the blueprint has been set and established. The Commanders should be excited about Jaden Daniels.
I want to throw something else out there. The offense coordinator is Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
And Cliff Kingsbury, when you look at where he's been at his best, it's been with Johnny Manziel, who was a run-pass quarterback.
Athletic quarterback.
An athletic quarterback. And then you look at Kyler Murray, and he's a guy who handpicked Kyler Murray. So my very first mock draft I had, I thought, who would be great is pairing Cliff Kingsbury with Jaden Daniels, and I'm glad to see it happen.
Now let's see if the New England Patriots who they are ready to pair with Gerard Mayo, their new head coach, with Elliott Wolf leading their personnel charge now after the departure of Bill Belichick, who filled both of those roles there in New England. And so to see who the next New England Patriot is, we head back to the draft hall in Detroit.
With the third pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Drake May, quarterback, North Carolina.
How are we feeling, Bucky?
So there it is, chalk.
North Carolina's in the house.
Let's have it.
I mean, I'm a Tar Heel born, I'm a Tar Heel bred, and
let's go. I need more enthusiasm.
But I mean, I'm just really excited because this is an all-time great kid for one. And then when you look at the tape and the game and what he did at North Carolina, look, didn't live up to the expectation in terms of the team, but this dude was a stud. Big-time arm talent, big-time playmaker. The comparisons to Josh Allen, to me, are real. He is the prototype at the position. Size, arm talent, IQ, personality, leadership skills. He has it all. The only thing that he doesn't have is the experience. And the inexperience leads to some inconsistencies. But if he irons that part out, you're talking about a superstar in this league.
Well, that's right, because you got to have that fit check before you're on the ISO cam walking down the hallway, right? You had to make sure everything was right. But yeah, I'm with you, Drake. There you go. It doesn't matter now, man, because all that matters is what you do when you get that New England Patriot uniform on, and there it is. Drake May showcasing those Patriot threads for the first time, right? Mac Jones out this offseason and now in Drake May. So, Lance, tell us what we love about the UNC QB.
He's traits. This is Mr. Traits of the draft at quarterback. Size and athleticism. He's got the big arm, unquestionable arm talent, without question. I think the other thing that really stands out when you look at Drake May is he's fearless now. He's got guts. Now, as Bucky mentioned, sometimes that turns into mistakes, and he's got to get that under control. But you'd rather say whoa than go, as they say about a quarterback, and he's got plenty of go. He's got good touch and accuracy on the ball, on the throws into the end zone. I think that's something he really needs to work on the short stuff, not throwing 100 miles an hour. But he's also a creative player, and he's a guy that when he gets outside of the pocket, he is physical as a runner, but he's not afraid to try to find a creative avenue to get the ball out. I just mentioned the mobility. I mean, it's a big part of who you have to be in today's NFL. You've got to be mobile enough to not be a statue, to make teams recognize that they're going to get hurt if they blitz you and they miss. If you come at the king, you best not miss. Well, that's what Drake May is hoping to show some people there in New England. But he's going to need time, Bucky. He's going to need time.
Yeah, he's going to need some time just because of the inexperience. Like in the last 4 years, he's only played football in 2 of those seasons. Missed all of his senior season due to COVID. Played behind Sam Howell. Didn't get much time as a freshman. Then he played the last 2 years at Carolina. So everyone has to understand, look, he is a work in progress. It's great that they have Jacoby Brissett there. There's not the pressure to put Drake May on the field, but if it comes together with the talent and the traits, you're talking about a stud. You're talking about a superstar.
Comes from a competitive family who loved Tar Heel Nation. Dad was a quarterback there at UNC for a couple of years in the 80s. Brother Luke won an NCAA title on the hardwood. I mean, you go down the list of the family and the athletic traits that you were talking about there, Lance Zierlein. They've got some genetics there for sure. And look, I think the thing that we keep coming back to in the trepidation, Bucky, with Drake May is the drop-off in production from 2022 when he was the Offensive Player of the Year in the ACC, threw for 38 touchdowns to just 7 interceptions. And then you come back at 23, interceptions go up by 2, touchdowns come down by 14.
Yeah, the touchdowns came down a lot, but I think everyone has to understand new offensive coordinator, different system, young, inexperienced playmakers around him, not to make excuses for him, but everything was new around him, and the team wasn't as good as they thought it was going to be. But I'll say this about Drake May. Drake May shows up, super competitive, high IQ player, and I would say the best trait that he brings, the connectivity that he's going to have in the locker room.
Yeah.
His ability to connect, particularly coming off a situation where we're talking about Mac Jones maybe not connecting the right way in the locker room. This guy's completely different. And I also think it's kind of cool that the night before the draft, he and his buddies, a little 4-on-4 basketball.
Let's go.
Because he had to put the ball in the hoop, had to get that competitive juice out.
Had to get some of that nervous energy out of there, understanding where he was going to be beginning his NFL career on a night like tonight. So quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3 for the 4th time in the Common Draft era. Last time, of course, was 2021 when we had Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance. So kind of interesting to see how that pans out as we're now 3 years removed from that draft as well. And so Drake May to the New England Patriots. Again, new era, new quarterback, new era, new quarterback. It's been a bit of a theme. And now the Cardinals, who have their quarterback in Kyler Murray, could take the first non-QB out of the green room or off the board in general, depending on the name that they call. Could it be Marvin Harrison Jr. or could they surprise us? Maybe and go with one of those other wide receivers that are sitting there and available in the green room? We shall see as we head back out to the draft hall in Detroit, where Commissioner Roger Goodell will once again take the stage. This had been a popular conversation piece as a trade spot in the months leading up to the draft, but it sounds like the Cardinals are making this pick, and let's see who they are ready to pair with Kyler Murray there in Arizona.
With the 4th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver, Ohio State.
So we got chalk, guys, through 4 picks. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison. This is kind of how we all thought it would go. First wide receiver off the board, despite some conversation that Rome Odunze was going to be the best. That Malik Neighbors was gaining traction as the top receiver. I know he's the #1 player on your board overall, Lance Zierlein. But for the Arizona Cardinals, this fits a bill that they have been looking for since Larry Fitzgerald retired or left the organization.
Well, he's bigger than Malik Neighbors. He's going to be more polished as a route runner than Rome Odunze. What you have with Marvin Harrison Jr. is a ready-made product. I mean, you take the packaging off of your Oculus or whatever video game you got or whatever you're drinking. You take the package off and it's good to go. And I think from day one, he's going to be somebody with route acumen. He's going to be somebody who can win contested catches for Kyler Murray. He needs that DeAndre Hopkins, that D-Hop type wide receiver out there. And the thing that you like about Marvin Harrison Jr. is he can work all 3 levels as well. So there's really nothing that he can't do. He is a rock-solid player, Bucky, and he's a player to me that this pick, I'm really glad that Monty Ossenfort didn't get cute and try to trade back, because at some point, don't pass up on great players.
Don't pass
players over picks in this one.
Yeah, players over picks. And going all the way back, the match with this franchise made a lot of sense because, to me, Marvin Harrison Jr. was very similar to Larry Fitzgerald when Larry Fitzgerald was coming out, meaning he was a pro's pro from day one. Polished route runner, great ball skills and pass catching ability, just has an ability to man the position like a #1. He is everything that you look for in a wide receiver 1, and I think he's going to have a lot of success at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the yards after the catch, something that we saw often from him in Columbus. I mean, look at the smoothness in the top of the routes. I mean, that's where that craft comes in, right, Buck?
He has it. And when you have a dad that is a gold jacket guy, a Hall of Famer, just imagine what those conversations have been like since he's been little, since he's first started playing the game. He has all of that stuff. And I think the advantage that he may have on others, when he steps into the NFL facility, it won't be too big for him. He knows what it's going to be like. He knows what he's stepping into. That matters.
I've kind of said it. He's got a lot of that smoothness and body control that we saw from his dad, but in a much bigger frame. I had a chance to watch him twice in person. First time I saw him in person, he made arguably the greatest catch I've ever seen in a college football game, and it was on like an out route or an out-breaking route on the sideline where he got like the foot you wouldn't expect to come down inbounds, just inbounds. I didn't believe it when I saw it. It was so ridiculous. But those are the types of plays that he made week in and week out in Columbus there for the Buckeyes. And, I mean, just an absolute stud of a player. You know, you hear and you talk to people inside their building, and they're like, he is a worker like you wouldn't believe. He's not involved. In fact, I mean, his dad was saying, you need to get in there and complain for the ball more. Yes. That's not his style. He's not the diva.
No, that's not his style. And you know, I've heard the knock against him that Malik Neighbors has that dog. Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't have as much dog. But the problem is that I have with that is just go watch the tape and just go look at the production. With C.J. Stroud, he had X production, which is exceptional. Yeah. With a much lesser quarterback this year, he had like very similar production. And
1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, almost exact.
Exactly. And you talk a lot about, well, this guy needs a better quarterback, or this guy. Didn't matter who the quarterback is, he's just productive. In 2 losses against Michigan, he had 120 and 118 yards against Jim Harbaugh. They're both losses, but touchdowns in both of them. That just goes to show you that consistency, Buck.
That consistency is there, and people shouldn't question the dog. He had to live up to his dad's name.
You better believe that.
He got everybody's best punch.
And he has thus far. So we look forward to seeing what Marvin Harrison can do in Arizona. There's Drake May, got the selfie stick out, hanging out with Patriots fans live in Detroit. And when we come back here on Draft Center presented by FedEx, the LA Chargers in the first pick of the Harbaugh era coming up. Draft Center presented by FedEx. Back here with you, Rhett Lewis, Bucky Brooks, and Lance Zierlein. Last pick off the board, Marvin Harrison. First wide receiver, first non-quarterback off the board, and he's headed to Arizona to team up with Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray had sent out the tweet earlier today, said, got a feeling today's going to be great. The vibes are immaculate. I think he knew Marvin Harrison was about to become an Arizona Cardinal, and now
what's the gi on there for? The karate gi?
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Oh, he always does that.
He does always do that.
He sits in the end zone.
I got you.
Cross applesauce in the end zone.
Sure. Speaking of which, meditation man, J.J. McCarthy could be the next quarterback off the board. Not sure where he is headed, but we know that his former collegiate head coach is now guiding the L.A. Chargers, the team whose pick is in at number 5. Again, another potential trade destination is sticking and picking there at number 5.
Late intel was that Minnesota couldn't find a trade partner, which meant the Giants were going to sit tight and they weren't going to do anything. So I think what's interesting here is we projected all these trades, and then at the end of the day, I think a lot of teams decided they weren't going to play chicken. They were just going to sit tight, or they were going to maybe, and say, look, we're not going to give you what you think you want in this draft. And I think it's going to really alter, obviously, the landscape of where the next quarterback goes, because McCarthy's not going here. But to talk about the Chargers for a second.
Yeah.
So I want to ask Bucky this. So you've got the Michigan way, right, with Jim Harbaugh. Then you've got the Ravens way.
Right, with Joe Ortiz.
How do you think that blends together in terms of decision making?
Jim Harbaugh's way. They're gonna line up and they're gonna run the ball. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah. And look,
that's quick.
I mean, Jim told us, right? He told us at the annual league meeting.
Yeah.
I think an offensive line is paramount. Okay, I'm inclined to take you at your word at this point, Jim Harbaugh, based on the fact you had 2 and 3 of the best offensive lines in college football the last 3 years. So let's see if that's the way they go, as Commissioner Roger Goodell is back at the podium.
With the 5th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Joe Alt, tackle, Notre Dame.
All right, so Joe Alt is the first offensive lineman off the board here, Lance Zierlein. He is the chalk from the O-line group. We had talked about him as kind of that wire-to-wire number 1. There was some late J.C. Latham love on the streets there, but it is Alt going to the Chargers.
It is Alt. Alt is an extremely safe player when you look at the pedigree. His dad was an NFL tackle. He's got size. He's got athleticism. The length, as you mentioned here, as you see right there, range. What they mean by range is the ability to set out and go catch those speed rushers. What's really, I think, also impressive about him is for a taller center or taller tackle, he does a nice job of getting the pad level down and driving from his core. So a lot of times with taller tackles, they have a hard time getting the pad level down. They tend to get stood up as run blockers. He's a Notre Dame run blocker, meaning they get after it and they get the pad level down. And Joe Alt is one of the safer picks in this draft. And I think, what basically you're saying right now with the Chargers is we're going to beat you up front, and then we're going to let our quarterback have, maybe a little easier. We're not going to make him carry all the load from now on.
This was the most transparent pick that we could ever get. I mean, this was telegraphed from the thing. I mean, Jim Harbaugh takes over. He's always utilized the offensive line to really set the foundation for his rebuilding projects. He did it at Stanford. He did it again with the 49ers. And he did it with Michigan, winning the national title. There's no way that he was going to deviate from the formula that's been so successful for him. He goes and gets Joe Alt to now go with Rashawn Slater. They now rebuilt this offensive line. He wants to make the game very easy for Justin Herbert. They're going to run the football, and they're going to lean on their franchise, their superstar quarterback, to just make plays when they need him to make plays instead of just draining everything out of them. The Chargers are on their way to building a bully because he believes that bully ball works, and based on his track record, he certainly has a lot of success doing it that way.
And with that, it is time for our Salute to Service presented by USAA. Joe Alt comes from a proud military family. His grandfather on his mother's side, Roger Rosemark, served back in the 1950s. And his father's dad, Robert Alt, also served. His dad, John Alt, also played in the NFL. And he is one of now 2 bloodlines that we've seen come across here in the first 5 picks. We talked about Marvin Harrison Jr., son of Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison Sr. Now Joe Alt, son of John Alt, is headed to the NFL and playing with the LA Chargers. And the pick is already in now for the New York Giants at number 6. So, again, another potential trade possibility off the board at this point.
So the Giants, you know, the scuttlebutt here has been that the Giants were a Drake May team.
Yeah.
And they may not be in with J.J. McCarthy. So I know J.J. McCarthy would make a lot of sense here, but we'll see if the intel that's coming from the scouting circles has something to it, because now you could look at another bully as a tackle. You could look at a J.C. Latham. I don't know how you pass up on a wide receiver. A lot of people.
Your number one player on the board is sitting right here.
Well, Malik Neighbors is, but I've heard some talk about Rome Odunze that they may consider him the cleaner prospect, the guy who they feel like would be great in the locker room. I'm not passing on a wide receiver. If I'm the Giants, I need to go get a playmaker, whether Daniel Jones is going to be my quarterback of the future, which I doubt, or whoever else. I want to have a guy that's special.
And Bucky, I mean, they've been searching for a number one wide receiver since they traded OBJ to Cleveland.
They have been searching for it, but also remember they've had failure. So they had whatever issues they end up having with OBJ at the end of his tenure. Then they try and go and get Kadarius Toney. Yeah. That doesn't work out. So normally what happens
was a big
when
miss
when you strike out a couple of different ways, you try and go opposite. To me, that might make Rome Odunze the pick in terms of just like kind of buttoned up, clean and square, professional, multiple positions that he can play on that offense. He might be the pick over Malik Neighbors, even though Malik Neighbors is the more explosive playmaker.
Boy, it's going to be interesting. It's a big year for this regime in New York. Obviously had this tremendous success in year one with Brian Daboll, go into Minnesota, win a playoff game, and then things kind of, the wheels fall off the bus after Daniel Jones struggles at the outset, then gets the ACL injury, still working his way back there. So let's see if that is the pick to continue to support Daniel Jones in their quest to get back to the postseason, get back to relevancy in the NFC East. Certainly another hotly competitive division, as it always is. So the pick for the New York Giants at number 6 is ready to be announced.
With the 6th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Malik Neighbors, wide receiver, LSU.
So, guys, after all the talk of drama and chaos, this has been pretty chalky here through 6 picks.
It really is, and I think this is this guy's so talented. I mean, his gliding speed, he's got incredible speed, but the way he glides on the field truly sets him apart because it disguises his incredible speed. I think what we have here, what we're looking at right now, is a player that there could be a little lower floor with him because he's not as polished as a Marvin Harrison Jr. But what pushed him just past Marvin Harrison Jr. in my ratings, Bucky, was the fact that he has elite speed, elite competitiveness, and there's not a lot of things he doesn't do well. But what I really love, he can work from the slot. And I think that is a big weapon to work the X, the Z, the slot. He can work any of those wide receiver spots.
Dog. Straight
one
dog.
word.
He has all the competitive fire and the instincts that you're looking for in an elite playmaker. When you turn on the tape and you watch him, he can run every route in the book. He's terrific with the ball in his hands as a run-after-catch guy. And he just has this ability to turn his game up a notch when he needs to. The comparison I like to DJ Moore is real, but this is a big-time playmaker, one that'll make the game easy for Daniel Jones because he can turn those short passes into big games.
Sure, and as Lance, as you were saying, put him in the slot, man. They ran that slot fade to death. Down in Death Valley at LSU, and he was so successful on it. Put the ball in his hands, watch him. There it is, the slot fade.
Again and again.
Just shows up, and oh, gosh.
Like that?
Again and again.
You like that. Let me tell you something. When he gives you that little nod and go, you're done. It's a wrap. Because if you misstep on anything that he shows you, and he can tilt corners too. That's one of the things I really like about him is the polish isn't quite there as a route runner. Hasn't needed to be. They run in space a lot at LSU. But, man, when you see what he's able to do with the hips, the feet, the suddenness, the burst, his ability to accelerate from 0 to 60 is almost instantaneous. And that's something to me.
Is that a slot fade again?
That's another slot fade.
No, that's what they called it against Texas A&M. Again.
You're going to see a lot of them. Yeah. You're going to see a lot of them. But, really he was so much more effective from the slot, but can work outside. And another factor that I really think goes really under-discussed with Malik Neighbors is you talk about his speed and suddenness, but he is a competitive contested catch guy. He is going to body you up, put you on his hip, get the arm extension, and he's going to go get it. You talk about dog, Bucky. The dog stuff shows up when it's a 50-50, and he's got that dog in the 50-50 balls.
Yeah, no question. And look, I mean, you want to talk about a guy who is consistently productive, led FBS with over 120 receiving yards per game out there for Jaden Daniels and the Tigers this year. And we'll see his buddy Brian Thomas's name come off the board in short order as well. So there we are through 6 picks, and we only have 8 players left in the green room in Detroit. 5 of the first 6 have come live from Detroit. It's been chalk thus far. Is that the way things continue with the Tennessee Titans? Now on the clock at number 7. Is it offensive lineman for Rand Carthon and new head coach Brian Callahan when we come back? Draft Center presented by FedEx, back here with you as we await the Tennessee Titans pick at number 7. Last player off the board, Malik Neighbors, second wide receiver to come out of the green room and across the stage as the newest member now, though, of the New York Giants. Getting their wide receiver 1 for Daniel Jones. If that remains the case through night 1, we shall see. Welcome back, everybody. Rhett Lewis, Bucky Brooks, Lance Zierlein. Glad to be here with you on one of our favorite nights of the year. You've seen the celebrations thus far. You've seen the emotion thus far. But what we've really seen thus far is chalk. This is the way that we've talked about this thing going in some way, shape, or form for the last couple of weeks at least. Caleb Williams 1, Jaden Daniels 2, Drake May 3, and then Bucky Brooks, we get the 3 position players. Marvin Harrison, first wide receiver. Joe Alt, first offensive lineman to the Chargers. Surprise, surprise to Jim Harbaugh. And then Malik Neighbors as the new wide receiver 1 for the Giants. So what does that mean the Titans are looking at here at 7?
The draft starts now because this is the only team that we couldn't get a full beat on how they were going to go. They bring Bill Callahan over, offensive offensive line guru, but does that mean they need to take one high? Because he's been able to do it with lesser talents throughout his career. They signed Calvin Ridley in the offseason to go with DeAndre Hopkins. Do they need to get a young wide receiver?
Yeah.
Try to do it with Treylon Burks a couple years ago.
Hasn't worked yet.
So now, do they go and get a physical playmaker like Roma Dunze to put in an 11 personnel package with Calvin Ridley on one side, DeAndre Hopkins on the other, and Roma Dunze bouncing around? It could. Look, they've gone all in on Will Levis.
Yeah.
You get a wide receiver now, you are really putting all the support around that quarterback.
If it's offensive lineman, Lance, who do you think fits what Bill Callahan's looking for?
Well, I think J.C. Latham and Talisi Fuaga would be the two guys that would make a lot of sense.
What about a guy with talent that's a bit raw still in Olu Fashanu? Could that be the pick here at 7?
A little too early for me.
Okay.
A little too early.
There you go. So an offensive lineman rich draft, do we see one come here, or do we get the third wide receiver, or does a pick come out of left field? Right now, we've got Roger Goodell walking out of his tunnel, getting ready to announce the next pick who will walk out or get a shot from home, see where they are celebrating. Let's head to the draft hall.
With the 7th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select J.C. Latham, tackle, Alabama.
All right, you had it there, Lance. You called it.
Well, I mean, Broad Street Bully.
Yeah.
He's got rare size. He's got, according to the people at Alabama, the greatest lean mass numbers that they've ever had for an offensive lineman. I believe that may include DJ Fluker, who is an absolute freak show. J.C. Latham is incredibly powerful. When you watch him on tape, though, that does not prevent him from getting out in pass setting. But we'll get to his XOs in a second. I think what this does for Tennessee is this is a team that has been built on the running game for years and years, from Chris Jones, even when VY was there, you go to Derrick Henry for years and years, and that is who they are. And if you ask Will Levis to do too much, I think it will regress on you. If you protect him with a running game and with pass protection, which he can do both, I think you're in good shape. And the thing I love about him, Bucky, and you know this from being in locker rooms or in the front office, he can play right tackle, but if things don't go well, he's got Pro Bowl potential at a guard spot.
He absolutely does. I think, to me, this is Rand Carthon putting his stamp on the team. Knowing Rand pretty well, having watched Rand throughout his time, he is saying that the Tennessee Titans are still going to play bully ball, even though they're surrounding the quarterback.
Big pickup. There it is. Our first monster hug of the night.
Putting him in a position to have success. They got a big guy that can play that smash mouth football that they want to play. Bill Callahan endorsed this pick. J.C. Latham is there just because the offensive line coach is saying, hey, we want to make sure that we dominate at the point of attack.
Second offensive lineman off the board is J.C. Latham, who had really been making, it seems like, a push, at least through draft buzz in the last couple of days and couple of weeks, so much so we thought he might end up being the first one off the board. What do we love about it here, Lance?
What we love about it is he's got strong hands now. When he gets his hands on you, you're probably not getting away once he sinks in. I like the fact that he can anchor up. You see him get wide with the base, unlock the hips, the knees, the ankles. He has the ability, as you saw right there, to deal with spin moves and passes off twists. So a lot of the stuff we show is the passing game, but I think the run game is where he shines. And this is why he's my #1 tackle on the board, is he is an elite run blocker.
I love this play right here.
He is a mauler. He stays after. He didn't get you one time. He wanted to go get you 2 times. He's got the attitude to let you know that he is there to whip you time in and time out. And I think he is a good enough pass protector. I think Alt is maybe a little safer as a pass protector, but I think Latham is just as good. And I talked to some other offensive line coaches who had Latham just ahead of Alt, but it's close. I mean, they're both excellent tackles. And good news for you, if you need a tackle, this is a great draft. But Rhett, having only one more pick on day 2 in the second round, I think that really, when you look at where the tackles are going to go here and how much talent at wide receiver is available in the second round. Yeah, it makes more sense to play it this way.
Offensive line value better now, whereas receiver value much better than offensive line value top of round 2.
Without question.
Which is probably part of the calculus here as well. Falcons pick is in here, Bucky Brooks. Could we be talking about the first defensive player off the board?
We should be talking about the first defensive player of the board. I think we've talked about it for so long that it'd be an edge player. They can get an edge rusher, edge rusher, edge rusher. But there's something about Raheem Morris spending time watching Aaron Donald dominate as a 3 technique, as an interior player. Maybe this is a place where Byron Murphy is the surprise pick that comes off much sooner than some expected. But when you think about the Atlanta Falcons in that interior pressure, they've been at their best when they had a guy like Grady Jarrett being able to do it. So maybe this leads them to think inside before outside. and maybe it's the guy from Texas that comes off the board.
There's been a lot of buzz about the Rams maybe trying to come up and go get the defensive tackle. That's some of the buzz that I heard.
Pick is in here.
And at 8, if the pick is in, they need defensive tackle Byron Murphy. They need a pass rusher, Dallas Turner, but they could also use a wide receiver. When you look at the wide receiver room, and I don't know if Drake London really has that separation talent you really need for a guy like Kirk Cousins. I think Rome Odunze would be a terrific fit, but can you go another
4 straight years?
Guy?
No way. You
can't do it, right?
You can't do it. There's no way, you can't take another wide receiver here.
Well, now look, they did go get Rondale Moore via trade from the Cardinals. Speed there, playmaker there. Got Darnell Mooney from the Bears in free agency.
They can't take it. They can't take another.
Lance,
I mean, it's video game football if they take another wide receiver.
I mean, Kirk would love it.
They're in with Kirk.
Look, if you want to go all in on Kirk Cousins, I mean,
I'm with Bucky though. Yeah. I think the odds are you can't do that, and you got to go to the defensive side. And I think we see Byron Murphy or Byron Murphy or potentially Dallas Turner here. Could they surprise us and look at a tackle? I don't think so. Yeah, but
you mean offensive tackle?
Yeah, could they look at an offensive lineman here? I really thought this would be a potential trade-in pick because I expect teams to come after those tackles at some point. But Byron Murphy's one of one. He's the only defensive tackle that is going to be a 3-down explosive playmaker in this first round. And that's why I think that he could be the pick here because it would make sense for Raheem Morris. Guess where he came from? The Rams.
The Rams, yes.
And guess who he had? Aaron Donald.
And so let's go back out to Detroit now and check in with Commissioner Roger Goodell as we await the Falcons pick and see if that does get that first defensive player off the board. Turner has been the most popular name throughout the draft process associated with the Falcons, but Murphy has been gaining steam late. Is that the direction the Falcons go?
With the 8th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Michael Penix Jr., quarterback, Washington.
Let's go!
What?
Let's go!
Check out the Fam Cam presented by Icy Hot. Michael Penix is an Atlanta Falcon. My goodness. The surprise of the draft. Without question, the 4th quarterback off the board to a team nobody expected to take a QB. Have at it, Buck.
So no one expected him to take a QB in the top 10. Thought about maybe in the 2nd round, but Michael Penix Jr. in Atlanta. You're thinking about Kirk Cousins. You think about the firepower and weapons that Atlanta Falcons have. You need a big-time playmaker, someone that can throw the ball down the field. There's no one better in the draft at throwing the deep ball than Michael Penix.
Let's go.
And when we go back and we look at the playoffs, when we watched it versus Texas, we were talking about this dude being an absolute deal.
Yeah.
Surgical precision, the way he carved them up. Didn't have the same kind of game in Michigan. I feel like that impacted the way that people viewed him. But when you look at the tape, super clean pushing the ball down the field, pocket awareness, anticipation, timing. He has all of that. And if you want someone who can operate from the pocket, Michael Penix was your dude. So it's early for some, but it certainly makes sense if you love the quarterback that can deal from the pocket.
Look at my guy outside the pocket, too. He makes some good movements within the pocket, showed you some athleticism in his pro day to put some of those injury concerns to rest. Dude ran 4.4, okay, at his pro day. And then, boy, he was absolutely surgical throughout his career at Washington. Had a phenomenal connection with Kalen DeBoer, his offensive staff there with the Huskies, even going back to his Indiana days, and now is franchise QB in waiting for the Atlanta Falcons. And this is a guy who's 24 years old, or 23 years old.
I'm trying to figure out what we're doing here.
What are we? Talk to me, Lance. What are we doing?
I'm trying to figure out what we're doing here. Well, we got Kirk Cousins, and we just paid him, so we know we've got minimum 2 years and maybe 3 years from Kirk Cousins. Coming off his injury, we'll see. Michael Penix is going to have to sit. I know this is the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love mode, where you can sit for a couple years, and I understand that. This isn't a 21-year-old quarterback. It's a 23-year-old who's going to turn 24.
September 1st.
Yeah, on September 1st. So he'll be a 24-year-old who's going to sit a couple of years and be a 26-year-old, 27-year-old by the time he starts. Just a very puzzling pick. Now, I like the player. The player himself, as Bucky mentioned, one of the best that you're going to find at pushing the intermediate and deep balls, just as Bucky mentioned. His game against Texas, I was there scouting him at that Sugar Bowl. It was, without question, the best game that I saw a quarterback have all year long in college football.
Maybe even going back a year or two as well. I mean, that was pretty dang special.
I mean, it was the placement.
Yeah.
The precision was incredible, was immaculate. Now, when you watch tape, you expect to see it all the time, and you don't. And you see sometime he'll throw the ball up and really go and let his 3 wide receivers, who are all outstanding, go make plays. He doesn't take sacks, which O-line coaches are going to absolutely love. Does have some problems when he gets outside of the pocket, though, throwing completions. That's a little bit of a concern. But what Michael Penix has is 6 years of starting experience, 4 at Indiana, which all of them ended in season-ending injuries, 2 at Washington, where he had no injuries, and he's faced adversity, Bucky. So the adversity, check. Productivity, check. Arm talent, check. A lot of check marks. I just question why Atlanta's doing that at this spot. Very puzzling.
And did they alert Kirk Cousins to the fact when he was signing there with Atlanta?
He knows now.
Correct. Fastest 4 quarterbacks have come off the board in the common draft era. Previous fastest was in the Josh Rosen draft when he ended up going 10th overall to the Cardinals as the 4th quarterback off the board. So it has been a banner night for the QBs. And now the Chicago Bears are set to make their 2nd pick here in the top 10, ready at 9 overall to see who they will pair with Caleb Williams, who they made the 1st overall pick in this draft. And with that, we are set to head back out live to Detroit, where hundreds of thousands just got the surprise of the evening. With Penix off the board, what do the Bears have in store for an encore as Roger Goodell once strides to the podium once again?
With the 9th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington.
Okay, we're back to chalk, guys. We're back. The train is back on the tracks here momentarily. Again, you take your quarterback at number 1 overall in Caleb Williams, and the next pick, one way or another, should be about supporting the ultimate success of that young quarterback. This does that. Rome Odunze now pairs with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, arguably the best wide receiver trio in football, Bucky Brooks.
So what I love about it is he fits the profile that they have on the perimeter. Big physical playmaker, literally expands the strike zone for the quarterback, and he has interchangeability, meaning he can play every position on the perimeter. So it allows Shane Waldron to kind of figure out how he wants to configure the lineup to make the game easy for Caleb Williams. And when we think about Keenan Allen being there, but how long is Keenan Allen really going to be there? A year or two?
Yeah.
It now allows Rome Odunze to start out as an apprentice before he takes over as the real deal. I kind of like what the Chicago Bears are doing with their first couple picks.
Tell you what's really underrated here, Keenan Allen, known as one of the great route runners coming into the league, and then as he's been in the league, Rome Odunze, one of the areas of improvement is really fine-tuning the routes. But the footwork, when he wants to, he's outstanding. Yeah. It's just doing it on a consistent basis. It's learning to play to his top speed. But when you look at Keenan Allen, he's a guy who is able to play faster than his time speed. The thing with Rome Odunze I really love is he can work from every position, including the slot. When the ball goes up, it turns into about an 80-20. He has amazing body control in the air. You'll always see the arm extension and going to snatch the ball with strong hands outside of his frame. Right there, he showed you a little double move. He's got better speed than you think because he doesn't always play to that top speed. That's what I saw right there. That little whip route shows the ability to become a more refined route runner, in my opinion. But the ball tracking, the winning the ball, when the ball goes up, he can win contested catches underneath. He can take the slant and go and give you some yardage out of the slot, or he can just beat you down the field, which is something that we saw a lot from Michael Penix, his quarterback, is, hey, throw it up to Rome and let Rome go do something with it. And Rome usually did something with it.
So how about the most prolific quarterback wide receiver duo in college football over the course of the last 2 seasons, going back-to-back picks? Penix at 8 to the Falcons, and now Odunze at 9, whose new quarterback shared a flight to Detroit with him. Good news is, no souls perished. And Odunze and Williams now land the plane in Chicago to begin a new era of football for the Bears. And this is fun to me if I'm a Chicago Bears fan. This sells hope. This sells optimism and an offense now chock full of firepower, Bucky Brooks, is how they're going to get it done on the field after plenty of years of mediocrity on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of optimism, a lot of hope, and you should be excited about the playmakers that you have around the young quarterback who should flourish in Caleb Williams. Now, there's a lot of expectations. There will be a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams to hit the ground running, but this team should be ready to go. I like what they've assembled. I like how they put it together. Now, if the offensive line can continue to take another step forward, this should be a team that can put points on the board.
Guys, we got to trade. The Minnesota Vikings look like they are now on the clock with the pick in. Thank you, Ian Rappaport.
Oh.
Yes. So
here it is. Squeezed them.
They're making sure they get
McCarthy.
J.J. McCarthy before the Broncos try to go up.
Joe D squeezed them a
Called
little
them.
bit.
It's like, hey, Broncos are coming.
Oh, my gosh.
Broncos
you never
are coming.
believe who's calling.
Hold on. Wait, what's Sean?
Yeah.
Sean, oh, hey, I need to go.
You take Sean's call. You take the Raiders call.
Oh, they just went up? They went up on pick? They had an extra pick?
Oh,
hey.
Probably get you a fourth.
Hey, Quessy, I'm just telling you. Yeah.
He could have played. He could have played possum there if you wanted to. Quessy could have, but this will be J.J. McCarthy, and it will make a lot of sense because J.J. McCarthy in this offense, and we'll get into that, assuming they make that pick. But I think Minnesota. This is a lesson to a lot of fans who just say trade up, go, hit the gas, all in. Man, what a masterful job by Minnesota of just being patient and letting the draft come to them. They've got the 23rd pick still. Yeah. They moved up one spot, and they're going to get one of the quarterbacks that they targeted. Yeah. This is how you run a draft.
And we will see if it is, in fact, quarterback on the other side when we come back to Detroit. It has been a draft full of quarterbacks thus far. It went Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and then Michael Penix in the surprise of the night so far, 8 to the Falcons. Now, could it be J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, who move up one spot to close out the top 10 when we come back? Okay, so it took to the final pick of the top 10 as we welcome you back on Draft Center presented by FedEx to get our first trade of the night. It is a one-spot move up by the Minnesota Vikings. To do so, they swap the first-round picks. Jets get 11. And so what goes to the New York Jets in terms of actual compensation, a 4th and 5th round pick. And then the Jets also send a 6th to the Vikings for the right to have the 10th pick for Minnesota, which we expect to be the 5th quarterback off the board after Penix went 8 to the Falcons. Is this, in fact, J.J. McCarthy? Does the national champion quarterback with just 1 loss in his collegiate career as the starter head to Minnesota to pair with Kevin O'Connell? We've got a special announcement of this pick from Roger Goodell, live from the Draft Hall in Detroit.
To help make the Minnesota Vikings selection, we are honored to have with us the surviving mother, brothers, and nephew of fallen hero, United States Army Sergeant Zachary Ewing. Zachary died after a battle with cancer, a cancer that was discovered after he was injured during his 2nd deployment to Iraq. We salute him and thank his family and TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, which offers care to those grieving the loss of a military loved one. I'm now going to turn this over to Sergeant Ewing's nephew, Asher, who will announce the pick in honor of his uncle.
With the 10th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select
J.J. McCarthy,
quarterback, Michigan.
Great announcement there. Great emotional moment on the stage and inside the home of J.J. McCarthy, who is the new quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. After all, it just took a little patience from Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and the Vikings personnel crew to sit there. And then finally, you know what? We're getting a little antsy. Let's make sure we get McCarthy after we let Kirk Cousins walk, Lance Arnold.
Where you go matters, right? So had he gone to New England, that's a tough rebuild. Yeah. Cold weather, tough rebuild, tough division. You could go to the Giants. That's a tough rebuild as well. He goes to Kevin O'Connell's offense. This is tailor-made. And the thing that really stands out about J.J. McCarthy, you got to start with intangibles. Teams love the fact he was 63-3, dating all the way back to high school and through college. He has been a winner. And when I say winner, it's not to be taken lightly because he's got great command and confidence on the field. He takes every slight, puts it in his little memory box, and he goes out and tries to get you back for that. He can run the ball outside of the pocket, so he has that ability. He has the ability to really throw with anticipation in the middle of the field. I think he's a quarterback who does a really nice job of throwing on the run, incredibly accurate on rollout passes, and that could be some old school Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak boot action stuff under center because he has played in a pro-style offense there in Michigan. So I think this is the perfect pick for the Minnesota Vikings. Of all the quarterbacks, I think this one makes sense. And for J.J. McCarthy, frankly, from a fit standpoint, with Jay Jett out there at wide receiver, I don't know that it could be better, that you could have just picked a quarterback-needy team better than the Minnesota Vikings.
Really like the pick, and I like the pick because Kevin O'Connell routinely sets his quarterbacks up for success. And with Sam Darnold there, there's not the rush necessarily to put J.J. McCarthy on the field right away. This is an opportunity for them to fully build the offense around him. And Lance, what I liked about what you talked about, his winning intangibles and attributes, we see it time and time again. This dude is a big-time playmaker. He made the plays that were needed to make it. But when your team is up and blowing everyone out, you're not going to compile a lot of gaudy stats. He just knows how to get the team to the winner's circle that matters in this league.
It is not a lack of elite plays. It is a lack of volume of elite plays, and that is not of McCarthy's choosing or his own fault. It is the way they played offense, and he was an expert at running the offense, guided the Michigan Wolverines to the top of the mountain in college football. And he is the 5th quarterback taken. That is the first time 5 quarterbacks have gone in the top 10 in the common draft era. What has been missing from the top 10? Defense. We have set a new record for consecutive offensive players to start a draft. And with every pick that defense doesn't go, that record gets reset. And the top 2 players left on your top 300 right now, Jared Verse, Dallas Turner. Is that at all a consideration for the New York Jets? Or do they take the third offensive tackle, who are on the clock right now? Pick is in for the Jets. Or is it Brock Bowers' time? Bucky Brooks, what do you think?
I think it's Brock Bowers' time.
Yeah.
I think it's Brock Bowers' time because when you look at where the Jets are, they're in win-now mode. You get a big-time playmaker over the middle of the field to go with the weapons that they've already assembled. It makes a lot of sense. Aaron Rodgers is coming back. You want to give him easy completions to allow him to really challenge the entire field. It makes sense to me to put Brock Bowers on the lineup.
2 aging tackles in free agency.
Yeah.
Is that where this goes?
I don't know. This is a hard one for me because Bowers gives you that all-in type of immediacy for Aaron Rodgers, and yet how long is Aaron Rodgers going to be there? Because Morgan Moses is going to be 34 this year on the right side, and Teron Smith's not getting younger on the left side. And
hadn't played a full season
Talisi
in forever.
Fuaga could step in and be maybe a starter this year at right tackle. So tough call here.
Yeah, and is it Fuaga? Is there a chance they prefer Troy Fautanu from Washington?
Right,
there's a lot of possibilities there, but Brock Bowers, man, what an intrigue that would be for Aaron Rodgers with Garrett Wilson on one side, Mike Williams when he gets healthy on the other. Here's Roger Goodell.
With the 11th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Olu Fashanu, tackle, Penn State.
Position, wrong player, right?
There it is. There it is. So Olu Fashanu from Penn State is the third offensive lineman off the board, following Joe Alt and J.C. Latham. And here he goes to the New York Jets. And look, you can't argue the need, Lance.
No, the need is there, and now the question becomes, do they play him right away at maybe a guard spot? But I don't really see it. I mean, you got Vera Tucker, you got John Simpson you brought over. This feels like you let him compete maybe against Morgan Moses on the right side, but probably most importantly, you let him learn from Tyron Smith over there. And I kind of like that. I like the fact that he gets to mentor with a guy like Tyron Smith on the left side, provided Tyron's going to provide that leadership, because I don't think Fashanu is ready just yet. I think there's still some. I think there's still
I love that audio. That's awesome.
There's still some holes in his game, but man, from a trait standpoint and an athleticism standpoint, there's a lot to like about Fashanu here.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, like super long, athletic. He has all the traits that you look for in a prototypical left tackle. Hasn't put it all together, but man, the upside is tremendous. And the New York Jets offer a unique situation where they don't need him to start right away. He can sit and learn behind some established vets who've had a lot of success in this league. Nice way to enter him into the league.
21 years old. If he'd come out last year, he might have been the first tackle off the board. We had that conversation. He decides to go back to Penn State, and now he is still the 11th overall pick in the third offensive lineman off the board in the 2024 NFL Draft. So the Denver Broncos are now up next. Where does Sean Payton go when we come back? Welcome back. Draft Center presented by FedEx, back here with you. The surprise of the night, Michael Penix, fourth quarterback off the board for the Atlanta Falcons at 8. Do the Broncos go quarterback, make it 6 quarterbacks off the board in the first 12 after J.J. McCarthy went 10. And then Olu Fashanu, the third offensive lineman off the board to the Jets after that quick. I just saw Davis Webb, the quarterback coach, give a high five.
He looked very excited. So I don't know if he's excited about the weapon or if he's excited about the quarterback.
Well, obviously, look, if it's a quarterback, it's Bo Nix. There's nobody left. But Brock Bowers would be really interesting there.
I feel like Nix is actually a good fit for Sean Payton. He's got kind of the, get it in, get it out. We're going to be very controlled, boom, boom, boom. But I'm not sure I'm taking Bo Nix at 12 when you have Brock Bowers.
But if you want him, you can't pass.
Can't do that. We're in a different hustle right now. Like all the quarterbacks are going, you can't worry about it. If you like him, you got to take him.
Lucky, let me ask you something. Give me your favorite 6th quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, I mean,
that's ever been drafted. Was Marino 6? Maybe I don't.
Matter of necessity. But last time we had 6, 3 of them went to the Hall of Fame.
You draft hungry. You go shopping hungry. Look what happens. You get all this stuff in your. You spend too much in your cart. I don't know. I don't love the idea of Bo Nix here. It is a need, and I think Bo Nix had a good season, but
yeah.
Mock
drafts would be interesting.
Red had you had 5 or 6 in the first.
I said 6 were going. This would be really interesting. But look, we just threw up the receptions by a tight end. It has not been pretty for
but somebody has to throw to him.
That's true.
Do we not play defense anymore? Do we not play defense?
This is how America likes it.
Well,
we play all offense.
Can't score points.
You can't score points in fantasy with defensive players.
That's a good point. Except the really nerdy ones.
This is a real big moment of this draft, right? A real pivotal decision point for the Denver Broncos at this point. Do we get that first defensive player off the board? We are already in record territory. It has never taken this long to get a defender off the board for the first time. Tight end, certainly a possibility. Here's Roger Goodell.
With the 12th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Bo Nix, quarterback, Oregon.
Well, now you know why the quarterback coach in the draft room was getting very excited. He's got his new quarterback. It is Bo Nix. Bucky, take us through why he's appealing to Sean Payton.
Bo Nix is appealing because when you look at the Drew Brees prototype, Bo Nix kind of feels it when it comes to an experienced player, really accurate on the intermediate range, connects the dots, does an excellent job of getting the ball to the playmakers. And the experience matters. The experience of being able to understand coverage, we have a lot thrown at him. He's worked through that. Lance, we've talked about it also, the adversity. He had to work through some adversity at Auburn to now make his way to Oregon and to dominate when he played in Pacific Northwest. To me, it makes a lot of sense for Sean Payton because this is an experienced playmaker with the athleticism and the arm talent to execute his system.
So Bo Nix is really pretty slept on with the season he had this year. He had a terrific season at Oregon, and one of the things that stands out about what Bo Nix, and love seeing the celebration here, boy, it's got to be earlier than anyone anticipated in terms of 6 quarterbacks going. But Bo Nix, to me, from a tape standpoint, it goes number 1, Jaden Daniels, number 2, Bo Nix for this year. That's how much I like this tape.
45 touchdowns and 3 picks.
If you like a 45-3 quarterback touchdown to interception ratio. But the thing about Bo Nix that really stands out to me is you saw some of it with the Exos there that we showed you. His pinpoint accuracy, he is a very accurate passer, much more so than I ever expected to see. Look, I went into watching this tape and I remembered Auburn Bo Nix. And I said, am I going to see Auburn Bo Nix? What I saw was a guy with much more poise. I saw really pinpoint accuracy. You see some arm talent in these throws. He can get it out at some difficult arm angles. And Bo Nix, in terms of the A to B throws, getting the ball where it needs to be on time and getting it there accurately with good placement, there's no question that's something he really shines at. I think at the Senior Bowl, I saw the happy feet a little bit. I didn't think he had as much juice in the arm at the Combine as what I thought I saw on tape, so that was something that made me question it a little bit. But I don't know that
yeah,
and I don't know that you need it as much, though, with Sean Payton. Because Sean Payton's passing game, Bucky, really helps him out in that regard.
If we use the Drew Brees model, it was very dink and dunk-esque the last few years with the Saints, and so he can control the game like that. But don't underestimate his football IQ, and don't underestimate the relationship with Davis Webb. Davis Webb was an Elite 11 counselor, may have had some experience going all the way back to his time mentoring Bo Nix when Bo Nix was coming through. Those relationships matter. And being able to connect on the whiteboard. We talked about Bo Nix being able to dominate that part of it. The experience allows him to do it. I think he understands the coach speak that might have been bandied around in those meetings, which may have made him the favorite when the Broncos were looking at a quarterback to go get.
Seen a lot of ball. 61 starts in college football. Has started every game that he has played, going back to his Auburn days, where he started 13 as a true freshman and a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school, where his dad had played. It dealt with that kind of situation there at Auburn, and then finally found a home there where he could really showcase his skill set with the Oregon Ducks and absolutely performed to the best of his abilities. And now the Raiders are shut out of quarterbacks here at 13. Where do they go? Do we get that first defensive player? Is it a corner or Talisa Fuaga still there? Here's Roger Goodell.
With the 13th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Brock Bowers, tight end, Georgia.
So this is best player available, plain and simple. Took Michael Mayer in the second round last year, was a quality rookie player for them, a guy you'd expected to develop, but now, I mean, this is a clear example of best player available.
This is best player available. This is Brock Bowers being on your draft board, flashing like a blinking light because he probably was graded as a top 5 player there. This is also being willing to, hey, how can we think about our offense differently? Yes, we took Michael Mayer, who's a good player, but now we can put 2 tight ends on the field. Maybe we can run the football. Maybe this is AP's influence on what is difficult and challenging to face in the defense. But to me, this dude is spectacular. Outstanding route runner, playmaker, versatile, can line up anywhere in the formation as a tight end. Terrific with the ball in his hands, has the niceness and feistiness to be able to block on the perimeter. Not many holes in his game. You put him with the Raiders. Now you put it on the offensive coordinator, Luke Gessie. Get creative. Find a way to get him and Mayer on the field together.
Nice and feisty. I like the combination. So he played at Georgia. He's got a winning background. He's got the Kirby, smart, hard coaching element behind him. I'm sure Antonio Pierce loves that. But the other thing with him is he is an elite yard after catch option. And so what he does for quarterbacks is if you need an outlet, ask Stetson Bennett this as Stetson Bennett was continuing to build his confidence in their championship season. You got a guy who can run the seam in the 4-5s and beat linebackers, or he can catch the little drag route underneath that they like to run. At Georgia, you just dink it and dunk it off to him 2 and 3 yards in front of the line of scrimmage and let him roll because he runs like a running back. He's got amazing contact balance. He is very physical to drag through a couple extra. This is their favorite play to run at Georgia. And once he's got the ball in his hands, good luck getting him down. They won't get him down on this play. I've seen it like 8 times. He's on the sideline. They can't get him down. I've seen it so many times. And so what you have here is a quarterback's best friend. And I'm sure it's making some other teams sick who kept saying, oh, my God.
Maybe he's coming.
Brock
Maybe he's
is
coming.
falling.
Yeah.
Brock is falling.
No.
Well, the fall's over.
Headed to Las Vegas on a night that has been defined by records thus far. A record pace for 6 quarterbacks coming off the board, which has in part influenced another record. We've yet to see a defender come off the board. Wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen when the Saints come up for their first pick next here on Draft Center. This is NFL Draft Center presented by FedEx. The Saints are on the clock and have yet to make their selection as it currently stands with just over 2 minutes remaining in their allotted 10 minutes to make that pick. Last pick off the board, Brock Bowers, another surprise of the evening. Don't recall seeing a single mock draft that had the Las Vegas Raiders selecting the top tight end in this class after taking Michael Mayer, again, different regime, 35th overall a year ago. So now they've got the opportunity to run some 2 tight ends out there. Saints draft room is on your screen. Doesn't look like there's a lot of activity happening.
Very dark.
Mickey Loomis.
I need some lights.
Dennis Allen. Maybe waiting for that phone to ring, seeing if somebody wants to make a last-minute push up. We shall see. I'm getting texts from my friends in New Orleans. They must be reading some things online. We shall see. But tackle is a huge need. They've yet to really find a replacement for Teron Armstead. Penning hasn't worked out yet. Ryan Ramczak's injury status is not super encouraging for this season, Lance. Pretty good ones still out there in terms of O-linemen.
There are, but you have to ask yourself, well, you have to determine, is Talisi Fuaga from Oregon State, is he a player who can play on the left side? We've seen him play on the right side at Oregon State. We know he can play right tackle. Can he slide over and play left tackle? You usually just say yes, but, you know, does he have the range to handle speed rushers there?
Well, they might need him at right away.
And they may need him at right tackle, absolutely. And then Fautanu, who I believe can stay at left tackle from Washington, you know, he could be the selection here at number 14 because I do believe that he can play left tackle, right tackle, or bump inside to guard. So I think offensive line is definitely a spot they could look at. They may say best available on our board at a general position of need would be defensive tackle and Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy would have Nathan Shepard and Kalen Saunders right there in front of him on the defensive line. I think Murphy, you know, could definitely compete for a starting position right away there. It's tough to see because it's really just about how do you view these tackles, because tackle makes a tremendous amount of sense for the Saints here at 14, and you don't trade out of that spot if you need tackle, because once you get past the first 5, and we've got 3 off the board now. Once you get past the first 5, there's a little bit of a drop when you go to Guyton and Amarius Mims.
Right.
So I'm not sure you want to get too cute and move back in the trade if you're the Saints.
I mean, you've got Talisa Fuaga from Oregon State, your 14th best player in this draft, and he's sitting here available for the Saints to take at 14. Troy Fautanu just 3 spots behind him on Lance's top 300 at number 17. Then it's a bit of a. Then Graham Barton is in that mix too, but more of an
Chase
interior
Young's
player.
a 1-year guy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they need rush too.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, I'd like to say a defensive player is going to go here, but I mean that left tackle spot is a big problem.
Yeah, and we've already
huge problem.
Huge problem.
Okay, we've already set a record. No defensive players have come off the board yet. The latest we've ever seen one in the common draft era is number 8. A couple years ago when the Carolina Panthers took J.C. Horn. 13 picks in, no defenders yet. We've had 3 offensive linemen. Is this where we get the 4th? Roger Goodell is ready with the card and the pick from Detroit.
With the 14th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Talisa Fuaga, tackle, Oregon State.
Time for Eating Good, presented by Applebee's, official grill and bar of the NFL. And, well, Lance, you had it spot on there. 14th overall player goes with the 14th overall pick.
And he is tough. He's aggressive. He's big. He is incredibly technically sound. The thing that stands out to me is he can push you around in the run game, no question. And you're going to see a lot of it. The backside cutoff, they did a lot of outside zone stuff. So he's well versed in terms of finding his landmarks as a run blocker. And that's a lot of what you're seeing right here is getting out to the second level, getting your cutoff blocks. But what makes him special to me is the quick hands. The punch is direct. He plays with inside hands. The pass set, he always has his chin tucked. He's got the ability to play off of those spin moves, and that's because he's well balanced. There's not a bunch of lean. What struck me when I watched him was, man, this guy, this is coaching tape. Like, this is teaching tape right here from a pass pro standpoint, because his technique is just outstanding. So when he gets into the league, he's not going to have those issues like Trevor Penning had, where he had to kind of feel his way moving up from the SCS level and trying to figure it out. He still hasn't figured it out. Yeah. Fuaga's already got it figured out, in my opinion.
Yeah, he does get it figured out. And I'll say this, having watched the New Orleans Saints up close, they needed some toughness. They needed some physicality. This is a team that maybe is a little on the softer side. He adds some of that nastiness that they needed. So this is a nice pick for them. They need to get back to running the football and being able to do some of those things to protect Derek Carr, but more importantly, to impose their will on their opponent.
You know, I also look at this. I love the celebration there for Talisa Fuanga. And, you know, this is an interesting one. You know, Ryan Ramczyk, as Dennis Allen came out at the annual league meeting, said, hey, look, we're a little concerned here, not where he wants to be in terms of potential for return from the rehab and the injury that he faced this year. As you mentioned, Penning, jury's still out there. Also, James Hurst retired this week, their starting left guard. And this is a player in Fuanga who could also make a transition interior, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, you want Trevor Penning to figure it out.
Sure, take the reins, be the guy.
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, if you can start a guy, Laramie Tunsil, you know, he started at left guard in Miami and became that left tackle. I think that what he's going to give you an opportunity to do right away is he gives you that guard tackle flexibility. You just want players who can play right away if you can find them on the offensive line. But this is really, with the Colts, we're looking at the Colts selection right here and who's getting ready to come up. You know, the offensive guys, so you could go speed with Xavier Worthy right here. You need a cornerback. We know Quinyon Mitchell, somebody I love. But Ballard always loves pass rush and offensive line play.
Yeah.
Every time he talks about needs, you can never have enough rush. It comes from the Rod Marinelli school that he learned under when he was over there with the Chicago Bears where he started. Rush, rush, rush. You can never have enough rush. You can never have enough big offensive linemen who can push people around.
Yep.
And, you know, they've got good rushers. They had plenty of rush, but they didn't have double digit. And so now you've got Verse, Turner, and Latu. So you got the most polished rusher in the draft in Latu. You've got the most traitsy guy in Dallas Turner, and you got a powerhouse and physical player in Jared Verse. These are three great players for Chris Ballard to choose from, and I didn't even get to Byron Murphy, but the problem is you just gave Grover Stewart
big deal,
and then you re-upped
still there
with DeForest Buckner. So I don't think he can take Byron Murphy in this spot. It just wouldn't make enough sense. But the rush would make some sense. Fautanu really fits the kind of mold of physicality he likes, but would he go wide receiver and try to give Anthony Richardson that blazing option? Because let's not forget, Chris Ballard came over from Kansas City, and boy, did Patrick Mahomes' job get easy when he had Tyreek Hill.
Now, Brian Thomas can roll too now.
Brian
Thomas can roll. That's right.
What was the fastest go route of anybody at the combine?
That's
miles per hour.
That's right.
When it comes to that, but also your buddy Chris Ballard likes traits.
Yeah,
so normally the traits. So if we think about traits,
Dallas Turner's
Brian Thomas would be one. Dallas Turner would be one. Quinyon Mitchell would also qualify. So he has his pick of the litter when it comes to it.
So, I mean, took Kwity Paye 2 years ago in the first round out of Michigan. It started to come along and be a nice piece. Not like super high end there, right?
Yeah.
You look at guys like Samson Ebikam, right? Who's over there on the edge as well. Taekwon Lewis, second round pick 6 years ago at this point. Deo Adengbo.
But those two guys are reduced guys. You know, the two that makes, I know, so Verse is maybe a little too much like Kwity Paye. So the two you start looking at is the big-time traits guy and Dallas Turner with the juice. But, you know, Latu is just, it's all about the medicals because you can't find better rush tape this year. You're not going to find better rush tape than Latu. You find the production. You see the hands. He makes it easy because he's playing past the blocker at all times. He's so instinctive as a rusher. And that's something that I don't think Verse and Turner have as much as the instincts of when your first move gets shut down, can you go to your second move? So this is a fascinating pick for me. I don't know the direction the Colts will go in. At some point, they got to draft a wide receiver or cornerback, but Ballard doesn't love drafting that position in the first round.
Talking about corners,
or really wide receivers.
Well, because if you think about the position, the front end can help the back end far much more than the back end can help the front end, meaning pass rushers help corners play better. Cornerbacks don't necessarily help the front improve. And so I can understand why Chris Ballard would want to go and get a big body at the line of scrimmage. Regardless, you better have those elite traits because that's what Ballard believes in.
Yeah.
So in the common draft era, we have never had 13 consecutive picks on the same side of the ball at any point of at least the first 3 rounds.
Never.
Yeah. In the common draft era. That's since 1967. We started this draft with 14 straight now on the offensive side.
Unless he goes wide receiver, I think it ends here.
It ends here.
Like I think they're go defense.
Or the edge rusher value or Byron Murphy is too much to pass up.
I think so, but I would make an argument for Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, I think you need another weapon for Anthony Richardson because Pierce really hasn't been as electric as you hoped vertically, and Brian Thomas can really take the top off.
Pittman.
But my guess is it'll be defense here just because if you look at building the trenches like he loves to do, there's just more available at pass rush than there is at tackle or guard.
Man, this could be one of those really intriguing moments here. Do we start to trigger a run on defense as we go back live to Detroit and await the Indianapolis Colts pick? Will they get a weapon for Anthony Richardson, who is set to return as the starter after missing the majority of his rookie year? Or do we go defense for the first time?
With the 15th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Laiatu Latu, defensive end, UCLA.
Okay, so there it is, the first defensive player off the board. It's Laiatu Latu. Now, for those of you questioning, whoa, where did Dallas Turner go? Where did Jared Verse go? Here's the thing that was a clear emphasis inside the Indianapolis Colts draft room. They valued the fact that this dude is a flat-out technician and the most polished pass rusher in this draft. Bucky Brooks, we had a chance to talk to him a number of times over the course of this draft process. And he's fought some adversity. Obviously, the medical's checked out, and here he is, the first edge rusher off the board.
I would say I've never been more impressed with a pass rusher than when he sat beside us on the set and had a chance to talk to him about rushing the passer. This is a guy who has elite first-step quickness. He has a bag of moves that allows him to get to the quarterback against anybody. He's versatile because he can play from a three-point or stand-up position. He can play outside or inside, and the motor is always revving. When you're looking at pass rushers, I think people have to understand there's an art to it. It's not just about being the biggest and fastest. This guy has mastered the artistry of being a pass rusher, which is why he should have success from day one in the National Football.
The only question on him was he was a player who had a neck injury that Washington deemed would cost him his football career, and he retired from football. UCLA took another look at him and said, we believe that with certain exercises and certain treatments that you are actually fine. And so now NFL teams, and I know there are some teams who had him off the board, but obviously the Colts did, and I talked to a few teams that did not have him off the board. They thought he was going to be fine. When you take that element away, well, there's not a lot of weaknesses in his game. And Bucky talked about a bag for Latu. I mean, I don't even think I don't think he can overstate this enough. Latu is an unbelievable rusher, and when we get to take a look at his XOs, you'll see what we're talking about.
Time for Best Value presented by Verizon, and that value goes to Chris Ballard in the Indianapolis Colts by taking the first defender, first edge rusher, and it's Laiatu Latu. Let's take a look here, Bucky, at what we love about Latu's game, kind of the details of that technician piece of it.
So we talk about having a bag. We talk about the bend and burst that he displays right there, the hand skills. You see it all from him. Dip and rip, swipe, up and under. He has all that. He can play outside and inside. There's an inside rusher being able to get home. We saw it in the Senior Bowl. Here we go, dip and rip, nonstop, relentless competitor. Love the stamina that he displays. This dude just is a nonstop Energizer bunny coming off the edge. He's a handful for blockers, and when he's revved up, you talk about the Indianapolis Colts where Gus Bradley likes to make it simple for the players so they can just go and hunt. Latu is a perfect fit because remember, he had a lot of success with Yannick Ngakoue in Jacksonville when he was an edge rusher. Latu has even better skills.
Good point there. 23 and a half sacks the last 2 years after he was medically retired
2 years of football
at Washington.
2 years of football, 23 and a half sacks. And talking to him, it's amazing because he just tells you he doesn't go in with a plan. He just reacts off what the offensive tackle's feet are showing him and their weight distribution shows him. Yeah. That's advanced level rush right there.
Yeah, and so, but he's prepared, right? His tools
very prepared.
Gives him the opportunity
it's like a boxer
to do that
just
reaction.
Reacts. He just reacts.
Great point. So the Colts have made our last pick. It is Laiatu Latu, our first defender that is an NFL record. Wait till pick 15 to get the first defender. What do the Seattle Seahawks have up their sleeve at pick number 16? They're on the clock. We get their pick next. Welcome back, friends. We are about to be halfway through the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft as we're back here on Draft Center, presented by FedEx. Brett Lewis, Bucky Brooks, and Lance Zierlein here with you. Laiatu Latu, the last pick that was made from Detroit. The edge rusher out of UCLA is the first defender off the board. Goes to the Indianapolis Colts. And now we get a glimpse into another new regime. Now Seattle first season with Mike Macdonald as their new head coach is forthcoming. John Schneider, maybe with a little more added juice into his role as GM with Pete Carroll now gone. Okay, do we start to get a run on defense here, Buck? What do you think?
Well, I mean, we're about almost plucked out of all. Who's left? Players. I mean, we just have decided that defense does not matter at all. So all you fans, when the season happens and your team can't stop anybody, don't be out here messing around on Twitter getting mad at your coaches because they didn't invest in it. I think Seattle has the options. They can take an offensive lineman or they can go defense. I would think Mike Macdonald will want to continue to fortify that defense. That defense has underachieved of late, but I don't think they need a cornerback. I think somewhere on the interior.
Chance for Fa'atanu here from Washington?
Oh, the OC connection.
Yep.
The OC
Line
connection could loom large. He plays multiple spots.
That's a good one.
Yada, yada, yada. There we go.
That's a good one.
I think they have tackles, right, that they got both of them in the same draft 2 years ago.
Yeah, young guys.
Maybe on the interior, you start to find, maybe even at center, you start to find some spots there.
16 straight picks of offense. Just 16 straight.
It'd be 15 to 16.
Reminds me of watching.
I mean, the birdies have been chirping that if Byron Murphy fell this far, that John Schneider would be elated.
That was a birdie chirp.
So the birds chirped that they would love Schneider, that Schneider would love Byron Murphy in this spot. I assume that's obviously the blessing of Mike Macdonald, who is coming over from the Ravens. But, man, you make a good point about Fatanu. You have a guy, you know his football character because you have, you have Grubb over there as
in that
the offensive
defense.
Coordinator.
Yeah, they got Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed, Draymond Jones. They paid a lot of money to.
Yeah, they did play like
Boye Mafe.
And it's hard to get a beat them because what does that defense really look like? We haven't kind of seen it play out. Like
That's true.
Baltimore's defense is drastically different than what they were running with Pete Carroll.
Man.
Cornerback, I mean, could we look at cornerback? I mean,
yeah, we haven't had one yet.
No corner off the board. And I mean, Dallas Turner is still on the board. Who do we have?
So is Jared Verse, your top available player.
So is Jared Verse. Yeah, but I realize Jared's going to slide a little bit in this draft. Some teams think he's a little bit stiff. They'll find out they're wrong.
They'll find out they're wrong. Yeah,
in a few years, you'll find out that you may have underestimated Mr. Verse. But those are two really good pass rushers still on the board. There's some good cornerbacks still on the board. Byron Murphy's still on the board. There's some good football players. I mean, this is a little deeper from true first-round grades in this year's draft. But it's much harder now that so many all the quarterbacks are picked off the board. What's shocking to me is we haven't had more trades.
Yeah, just one.
Bucky loves it.
Just one thus far, and we won't get one here. Pick is in for Seattle. Commissioner Roger Goodell is waiting for his cue to make that move to the podium and announce this pick for the Seattle Seahawks. First for head coach Mike Macdonald. Wonder what kind of influence that plays as the Seattle Seahawks look to get back to that golden age when the Legion of Boom and company were dominating on the defensive side of the ball. And without further ado, here is the pick.
Thank you to our men and women who serve in the United States military. Your sacrifices to defend our country's freedom do not go unnoticed. Thank you so much. With the 16th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Byron Murphy, defensive tackle, Texas.
The birds chirped, and I guess they were right on that one. Boy, there's a lot of defensive tackles over there, aren't there?
A lot of them, but, versatility, when you have a lot, that means you can auction off and, get back what you need.
Bucky, what kind of defense are we running over there?
I think they're gonna run a hybrid defense. They got all those defensive tackles. They can do a bunch of things. But I will
Leonard Williams can play that 5, right?
Jaron
Reed out there 5. I mean, they put the nose, Byron in the nose.
Yeah, I mean, they can do some fun stuff. This dude is super explosive, great hand skills, plays with the energy, kind of reckless in terms of the middle, creates havoc and chaos, like the disruptive plays. And what we know about Mike Macdonald, he knows how to make it work. He made it work last year with Baltimore when they didn't really have a pure pass rush and found a way to get it done. He'll find a way to create one-on-one opportunities for Byron Murphy, and you'll see the rest of those guys also benefit from his presence.
Tremendous tester. First step quickness is really unmatched from interior rushers this year and really in many of the years. And the other thing that really stands out about Byron Murphy is that whether it's first down or third down, he has a chance to penetrate and cause real problems for overmatched interior linemen. If you are not an athletic interior lineman, you're going to have major issues with Byron Murphy, snap in and snap out. And when you have that kind of penetrator who's also strong at the point of attack, that now creates offensive lines have to slide protections to help you out. They have to account for you with certain run plays. Certain run plays are going to be scrapped, especially when you have guys like Leonard Williams and Jaron Reed who can stack and shed you. So this is, I like the pick because Mike Mack's saying, hey, we're going to play some defense. Finally, we got somebody trying to play some defense in pro football.
Finally trying to get to it.
Also, you were asking for more trades. We have another. The Minnesota Vikings have orchestrated a trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars, moving up 6 spots from 23 to 17. Again, they move the 23rd pick, which they had acquired from the Texans. We thought initially to package as a move up for a quarterback, end up getting their QB at number 10 in a trade with the Jets. So it's Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is the one who's kind of maneuvering up and down the draft board. But what is this for? Now, I think, they obviously lost Danielle Hunter to the Houston Texans in free agency this year.
So you thinking maybe
wonder if they're seeing the edge rushers fall.
One being available there.
And say, hey, maybe it's still, maybe the Rams are going to take one at 18.
No, this has got to be a rush,
Yeah, so is this Jared Verse or Dallas Turner?
Dallas Turner is going to be my guess. They need a cornerback too, but how you letting Dallas Turner get off the board here?
Yeah, we had him pegged as maybe the 8th overall pick, now available here at 17. Is that where the Vikings go?
The Jacksonville Jaguars have traded the 17th pick to the Minnesota Vikings. With the 17th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Dallas Turner, linebacker, Alabama.
So there it is. Bit of a fall for Dallas Turner as he exits the draft room, just based on mock drafts, based on buzz from the draft community. And clearly the Minnesota Vikings had value attached to Dallas Turner's name because they traded up 6 spots after seeing he was still available after the Seattle Seahawks made their selection. So Turner is a 6'2" and change player, but a massive 83-inch wingspan. So he's got the length to keep those offensive linemen's hands off him, out of his chest. He uses those arms to his advantage, which we'll show you here shortly, but was a double-digit sack artist here, teaming up with a guy who will probably here come off the board tomorrow, and Chris Braswell for the Alabama Crimson Tide definitely wreaks some havoc in the SEC this year. So Lance, you kind of thought this might be the pick as well. He ends up being the 7th player on your board, and so some good value here, plus 10 in value if you look at it that way for the Vikings.
It really is, and what you have is this rare length as you talked about. And the reason that's important is because first in is usually the winner, and if you can get first in with your hands, and when you have a wingspan of a 7-footer, you're going to be first in a lot of times against those tackles. He has the loose lower body that allows him to get up and around the corner. That insane burst up the field gives him the ability to really rock tackles on their back foot whenever he's rushing. But the other thing he does is he'll play the run now. And if you're going to play for Nick Saban and Alabama, you can't not play the run. That's a necessity. You have to be tough enough. Now, he's not Will Anderson playing the run, but he's a willing take-on guy, and he has the ability to range to the sideline and cut off those outside running plays. And when it comes to rushing the passer, the strip sack ability with his, just the ability to flat out get off the ball and immediately put tackles in reverse, that sets up inside moves, sets up stab move counters. These are moves he's going to develop more. Yeah. And as we mentioned, he's the traiciest rusher of all of the rushers when it comes to his athletic profile. The athletic profile of a wide receiver, frankly.
Yeah, and look, when I think about this defense, Bucky, an attack-minded defense with Brian Flores, you unleash a 4.4 speed guy with an 83-inch wingspan, that fits.
He absolutely fits. He's a freak athlete who has outstanding first-step quickness. He can bend and burst. He's versatile enough to be able to play with force or finesse off the edge. Non-stop motor. Played in a very complicated defense, so he can play in a high leverage scheme. This is a really, really good player. And for Brian Flores, what they do in the back end with that myriad of cover zero where they're always challenging and testing the IQ of the quarterback, well, now you're going to create some free rushes for a guy who is a dominant playmaker and pass rusher off the edge.
Let's get the details here. So obviously you get the pick swap 17-23 with the Vikings and the Jags. The Jags then acquire a 5th-round selection and a 2025 3 and 4 from the Vikings to accommodate their move 6 spots up to get the edge rusher Dallas Turner, who they will pair with Jonathan Grenard, who they got out of free agency from the Houston Texans. Kind of interesting in that swap. Hunter goes to Houston, Grenard goes to Minnesota, and then they also went out and got Andrew Van Ginkel in free agency. Now you throw in another rotational piece there with Dallas Turner. And so we have 3. Oh, guys. We got to run on defense here. Let's go. 3 in a row.
It's time now. You're done if you're the Vikings. I'm sitting here looking at my my 2nd and 3rd round mock that will be out tomorrow on NFL.com, and I'm looking for Vikings stuff, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
Done. This is who you have. But I think it's a masterful job by the front office of Minnesota of being patient, coveting players, and finding a way to get the 2 guys who you really wanted. Great job by Minnesota.
Yeah, so the Minnesota Vikings do not have a 2 or a 3. They just traded 157. So the next time we see the Minnesota Vikings, as it currently stands, will be at pick number 108 in the 4th round. 108, 129 is where they are at this point. So, all right, a lot of moves. We had our second trade of the evening, and both of them have involved the Vikings. We will hear from the Cincinnati Bengals as it currently stands at pick number 18 when we take you back live to Detroit in the 2024 NFL Draft. Okay, friends, we've had a run on defense as we welcome you back to Draft Center presented by FedEx. The last 3 picks have all come on the defensive side of the ball. After the first 14 were all offensive players. Laiatu Latu, Byron Murphy, and Dallas Turner, the latest picks in this 2024 NFL Draft. The Cincinnati Bengals are now on the clock at pick number 18. So just over 6 minutes remain for the Bengals, who are an interesting spot here. Feel like they've been efforting an improvement in their protection, Lance Zierlein, ever since they got Joe Burrow. And it wouldn't surprise me if they make that move again here.
There's 2 picks. I'd be shocked if it's not 1 or 2 picks. Now, unless they want to move on from Trey Hendrickson, who demanded a trade, but they don't typically trade players when they demand anything. You really look at it, the 2 guys that make the most sense and really have since we started doing mock draft was wide receiver to replace T. Higgins in the future, Brian Thomas, or you look at Fautanu, the left tackle who can take over the tackle spot, the right tackle, left tackle, guard, wherever you want them. Big need there in Cincinnati again.
Other choices could be Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma, Amarius Mims from Georgia, or maybe Graham Barton from Duke. Here's Roger Goodell with pick number 18.
With the 18th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Amarius Mims, tackle, Georgia.
All right, Bucky, mountain of a man. Hit us with it.
You said it there. You said it right there. A mountain of a man. Massive. Doesn't have a lot of experience, but has a lot of talent. You see in a very small sample size, this dude can dominate at the point of attack. Long, rangy, has a mauler, brawler mentality and playing style. And you just understand in Cincinnati, you put him at right tackle, this guy is going to have a lot of success. I know you have Orlando Brown playing at left tackle, but on the right side, where you kind of want to run the football a little bit, this guy is going to be a people mover, kind of like what the Cincinnati Bengals are doing, trying to reestablish a little physicality and toughness at the point of attack.
So he's like a really good athlete too. We saw it at the combine. It was like whoa. And with Amarius Mims, what you get is a player who the only real concern on him is injury. He has had some injury issues. Staying healthy has been a concern. And, you know, that's got to be a little bit of a concern for Cincinnati. But when it comes to size, it's hard to get around him. He has great length. He's very, very powerful. And his upside is extraordinarily high. It's the injuries that concern you a little bit.
All right, let's paint a better picture of what Amarius Mims is. Here's a player comparison presented by Pizza Hut. Lance Zierlein, who does Amarius Mims remind you of?
Yeah, Jordan Mailata. You remember, he's a guy who came over, Mailata came over as a rugby player and has quickly developed into a really impressive left tackle. He was a special athlete with special size and traits, and that's the same thing we're looking at right now from Amarius Mims. Now, Mailata didn't have any real experience and moved over to one of the hardest positions to play in pro football, the left tackle spot. But you saw right there, he can get out in space, so can Amarius Mims. He has great length and strength, so does Amarius Mims. So there is a lot to like about that comparison between the two. I think the difference is, you know, Mims comes in with a pedigree with Stacy Searles, the offensive line coach, and those Georgia Bulldogs. And hey, he's got a background for winning too. You can never, you don't want to underestimate guys who come from winning backgrounds.
Also understand this, he gets a chance in practice to sit behind Trent Brown. Trent Brown, the massive.
They acquired free agency.
Massive edge blocker from New England who's been there for a long time. He gets an opportunity to sit and watch and then eventually work his way onto the field. So they have insurance for the long-term future by having Mims maybe sit a year before he jumps into the starting lineup.
1,000% the biggest offensive tackle trio in football. Orlando Brown, Trent Brown, now Amarius Mims.
I guarantee you.
Where did they put Amarius Mims at tight end on some of those heavy?
Let's go.
Super tight end?
Yeah, but
on the super tackle?
A guy who went at pick number 18, just 8 starts in his collegiate career for Amarius Mims. Kind of interesting. The Los Angeles Rams, friends, are on the clock. What? It's the first round. Somebody want to get that note over the draft house in Hermosa? They haven't made a pick in the first round since they took Jared Goff #1 overall back in 2016. But pick number 19 currently belongs to the LA Rams, and they have just over 2 minutes to officially make that selection. Super Bowl champs just a couple of years ago, got back to the postseason this year with a renewed enthusiasm there with Sean McVay and Les Snead. Okay, I saw a little bit of a handshake there with Chris Shula, the new defensive coordinator for the LA Rams, replacing Raheem Morris.
How they're dressed, it's like they forgot they had a first-round pick.
Everyone's
like,
it's casual.
we're not used to picking in the first round.
They're at the beach.
We're not used to picking in the first round.
They picked gems on day 3.
I tell you what, how about the job? Yeah, how about the job they did last year?
Yeah.
Boy, amazing job. Puka Nacua and defensive tackle Kobe Turner.
Byron Young too, though.
Could have been
Byron Young,
offensive
and defensive players of the year.
Yeah,
if not for the Texans picks. And I think those guys had arguments anyway, if you really want to know the truth. So amazing job by Les Snead. I know he's famous for not caring as much about picks in the past.
Is that the phrasing they used?
Yeah.
He said, "I don't care about these picks that much."
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's what the T-shirt said.
I think so.
But when you look at it now, he cares a little bit more about picks now because he's got a lot of them to play around with. So I'm very interested to see what he does here.
LA Rams have 4 in the top 100, including 2 third round picks, which of course we'll see tomorrow right here with you on Draft Center presented by FedEx. But here at 19, Jared Verse still available.
Jared Verse. How are they at cornerback?
I mean, look, you could. They've made some strides, with players kind of outside of the limelight, spotlight-wise.
Brought Darius Williams back, didn't they?
Yeah.
Trey White. Tre'Davious White comes over. Typically, they like to go line of scrimmage. I would like to think that they're going to try and find someone that can kind of get after the passer. Verse would appear to be one of those guys.
Best available player on your board, Lance. Best edge rusher on your board,
Jared Verse.
Bucky. Otherwise, defensive tackle-wise, you're looking at Johnny Newton,
the only one
from Illinois.
Trying to find a direct replacement for Aaron Donald. You can't replace, but if you're looking, I think it's too soon for.
But we haven't seen a corner yet. Does value speak loudly to Les Snead here in terms of cornerback?
It could when you look at who he has there. I could definitely see cornerback when you really take a close look at this. Quinyon Mitchell could be the guy here. The other position you have to look at is would they be willing to go with the wide receiver? I mean, Puka's on a rookie deal that's not going to cost him a whole lot. Would they be willing to look at Brian Thomas?
I think I'd be surprised if it was
I'd
Brian
be more
Thomas.
surprised. It looks like they can kind of get along with.
They're doing pretty good with that crew at receiver. And they really like Demarcus Robinson coming back to him as well. They got it on a real reasonable deal. So, all right, the LA Rams making their first pick in 8 years in the first round. Here it is from Roger Goodell.
With the 19th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Jared Verse, defensive end, Florida State.
Now just makes so much sense. The value here, Bucky, is huge.
Yeah, the value made a lot of sense, but more importantly, the player makes sense. You see it in the tombstone, bully. This dude is a bully off the edge, explosive first step quickness. He is a power player. When I liken him, not making the player comparison to Khalil Mack, but he uses Khalil Mack's playing style to be able to get it done. You see him put his hand right in the middle of the blocker's chest, and he is going to use a two-way go to be able to get to the quarterback. Super explosive, super dynamic, and productive at every level. First at Albany, then for 2 years at Florida State. This dude had 18 sacks and a bunch of tackles for loss. He is a productive player who's going to fit right in to this Rams scheme.
When you watched him coming up from Albany, his first game was against LSU, not this last year, but the year before, and it didn't look too big for him in game one. He really flashed right away and then kept getting better and better. Jared Verse is a grown man. Reminds me of Lamar Woodley when Woodley came out of the Pittsburgh Steelers, played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is much more physical than his size. I think he's going to ultimately play around 260 pounds, but he has elite explosiveness into first contact. And it's not just as a speed to power rusher. It's also at the point of attack where he plays so much bigger and longer than you think he's going to. He doesn't have long arms, but he's so fast into the tackle that he gets into the tackle first almost every single time at the point of attack. He's got the sweet arm over that he just showed there that can beat you from a penetration standpoint as a rusher or as a run defender. He showed what kind of athlete he was at the combine. But I think more than anything, he's tough. This is a bad boy. Now, he is going to get after you every single snap, and I like the toughness and the edge that he gives the Rams. You lost Aaron Donald. Where's that edge going to come from now? I think Jared Verse is the next up when it comes to edge bringers.
Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, a new crew. I like it. Get after the passer there for new defensive coordinator Chris Shula. Head coach Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. Back with pick 20 when we return. Pittsburgh Steelers last year took Broderick Jones, number 14 overall, the tackle out of Georgia. Do they double down on the tackle position here at number 20? Certainly a question Steelers fans there in attendance in Detroit are pondering as the pick is in for Pittsburgh. New quarterback room entirely. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields in. Can he pick it out? And do they use that new quarterback room to influence a selection here, Bucky Brooks? And you look, Broderick Jones kind of went over to the right side last year, especially started to play well second half. Do they try to find a left tackle to potentially replace Dan Moore is a question here.
I mean, look, I think you certainly can take a look at the position when we think about the tackles that are available.
Or maybe a tackle, Bucky and Lance, that have guard potential.
Yeah,
like a Fatano.
The left side needs upgrading for the.
Yeah, I think Fatano certainly could be in play, and maybe there's.
I think the other one is corner. The other position they've been doing some homework on, from what I understand, is a cornerback spot, which would make some sense.
Dante Jackson, Joey Porter.
Dante Jackson just came in. Darius Rush is a nickel.
I mean, now look, we talk about best player available. Everyone was raving about Quinyon Mitchell, leading up into this. And so now you think about another long corner to go opposite Joey Porter Jr. They can get back to maybe playing some man-to-man coverage and kind of eliminating some of those easy throws that went on the outside. It is rare for a team to go, Joey Porter wasn't a first rounder. We thought he was going to be a first rounder. But it's rare for them to go in that back-to-back. But maybe they go back-to-back years early.
To get that sneeze in real quick.
Glad you got that in.
Before this pick, you know what I mean? Wonder if that means you were right on the money there with that selection. Wonder if that's why I was feeling.
Or maybe you're allergic
maybe
to
it is
one.
corner.
Yeah.
But the value of the offensive lineman here, and especially with Fatanu.
I think when you look at.
What about Graham Barton?
You look at the next 60 picks, I mean.
Replace Nate Herbig?
Yeah, now that would make a lot of sense as well.
Positions.
Yeah, to me, it's the left tackle, it's the center, or it's a cornerback.
Fautanu, though, could give you all of that, right? He's got a. I mean, maybe.
But Graham Barton's awfully talented as well. But my guess is it's Fautanu or Quinyon Mitchell here. Those make the most sense for the Steelers.
Look who's joining the commissioner, Walter Payton, NFL Man of the Year, Cam Hayward.
Tonight, 32 young men will embark on their NFL career, striving to make an impact on the field. But their impacts will be felt far beyond their field, but in their communities. No one embodied that more than Walter Payton. And today, the league's highest honor, the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award, presented by Nationwide, recognizes his lasting legacy. Tonight, we are proud to welcome the 2023 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year winner, Cam Hayward.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Commissioner. And most importantly, I want to say thank you to the Payton family, the NFL, and Nationwide. The NFL draft is special. To my fellow NFL players and the prospects joining the league this week, I want to challenge you. Use your platform to brighten someone's day. The opportunity before you is a gift. And by coming here and being in this league, seize that moment. Be better in our communities, be better for our league and our world. Thank you so much. Here we go. And with the 20th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Troy Fautanu, tackle, Washington.
All right, there it is. The wait is over for Troy Fautanu from Washington, the anchor Lance Zierlein of the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, given to the top O-line in college football this past year.
He is very, very physical, and I'm a member of the selection committee for the Joe Moore Awards. And when we watched, it just every single time 55 just kept popping up. He's got the body type of a classic tough guy guard who can move a little bit, but when you watch him at tackle at 34 inches, I just think he can end up staying out at tackle, whether it's left tackle, right tackle, or guard. And I think the Steelers are going to give him a chance to win the left tackle. Well, actually, I think they're going to swing him to right tackle, bring Broderick over to the left side is my guess. And if that happens, I think they've got a mauler brawler for years to come. He is a very physical run blocker, but what he gives you is that old school Steeler toughness. It's been missing for a while from the offensive line where they could just get downhill on you, pound the rock, and go. This is your first chance to go back to old school Steeler football. I mean, in a long, long time. But I think with the two bookend tackles that you've just taken in back-to-back drafts, I think you give yourself a real chance.
You give yourself a real chance. And remember, Arthur Smith takes over this offense. They're going to run the football. Arthur Smith is committed to running the football. You think about the personnel that they have in the backfield, Najee Harris. They want to be able to kind of impose their will. And even with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields coming over, it is still about the quarterback being a complement to what is a physical running game that complements a defense that sets the tone with turnovers and short fields.
Yeah, and the Texas game, by the way, you could see, like, this is Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy we're talking about at Texas. And Fautanu was really getting after those guys with down blocks, moving people around on the goal line. So he's a guy that I think Steeler fans are going to really, really like. And worst case scenario, he'll be your starting left guard for years to come as well. So I like those two. Players need to have two position flexibility. I think he probably has three position flexibility: left tackle, right tackle, and left guard.
The versatility matters. Physicality, toughness. He fits the brand. He gives them what they're trying to recreate, which is that physical, imposing presence at the point of attack.
And this was not a Steelers standard in terms of pass protection production from the offensive line over the course of the last couple of years. Probably same goes in terms of run blocking as well. Get a little bit of both here as they continue to upgrade that with GM Omar Khan and head coach Mike Tomlin now working with new quarterbacks and a brand new offensive lineman in Troy Fautanu. Where do the Dolphins go at 21? Next here on Draft Center. We are into the 20s here on Draft Center, presented by FedEx. Our first pick of the 20s was just made by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Miami Dolphins pick is in, as you see General Manager Chris Greer with all the hugs and handshakes, and Mike McDaniel, head coach there in that draft room down in South Florida, ready to announce the newest Miami Dolphin. Any number of ways, certainly up front, you could see the Dolphins go. Center, Graham Barton.
Graham Barton, JPJ.
Jack Sparrow. Yep. Edge rusher is kind of gone, picked over after Jared Verse went to the Rams right at 19. Johnny Newton, defensive tackle, to replace Christian Wilkins. In a sense, different players.
Yeah. I think the best moves here, Graham Barton, who is guard center, who is going to be the safest offensive lineman in the draft. Graham Barton is terrific. I mean, Graham Barton is a can't-miss player for me. And it happens to be a position of need for them, the interior offensive line. So that makes a lot of sense. But what if they got greedy and said, oh, Brian Thomas and Xavier Worthy are here. Let's take our already fastest team that's ever been assembled and get into an arms race with the Kansas City Chiefs and every other offensive team. Because this is a quarterback-heavy conference in the AFC.
Just got rid of Xavier Howard. Corners are still there. Their choice of corner. I mean, I know they did get Kendall Fuller from Washington. Still have Jalen Ramsey, obviously, but I mean, I think we all expected at least one of those corners.
Is there any chance they could surprise us with Chop Robinson? I don't think so. But they've had some injuries over there out on the outside.
They've had some injuries. And
Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb both.
Chop Robinson is clean when it comes to them.
Here's the pick.
With the 21st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Chop Robinson, linebacker, Penn State.
Have at it, Bucky. You nailed it.
Yeah, somebody, little birdie, was over there talking. But no, the Miami Dolphins need to have an established pass rusher because injuries wiped him out last year. Chop Robinson is a developmental prospect, even though we're talking about a first-round talent. But this dude's explosive. He's dynamic. He's an A-plus athlete. But now he needs to put it together and turn that potential into production. But you see it on tape. It shows up. It pops on the screen. First step quickness, burst, finishing skills. He has it. Just need to see the consistency from him.
Yeah, he's got that Von Miller bend to him in the ankles and the knees where he can get low. It is not a problem at all for him. But he's just not a skilled rusher right now. I mean, he is an elite athlete, Micah Parsons level athlete. The problem is, you know, Micah came over from linebacker. They put him at end. He had some background in Miami. And there you see, at defensive end. And Chop is excited. Well, let me tell you what Chop Robinson has. He has athletic gifts that you simply cannot coach. The problem is right now, he doesn't know how to rush the passer. And I say that with all due respect, but that can come with more work. But, Bucky, this is very much a position of traits and ability meets a need because of the injuries that they have, substantial injuries to Chubb and to Jalen Phillips, where both those guys are going to try to come back this year. But it may not happen for those guys right away.
May not happen for those guys right away. And even if they do come back in today's game, you got to have three rushers. You got to have three players that you can have in rotation. So you put him in rotation as a first-year player. Maybe he's just a situational rusher, comes in on nickel, and then you hope that he's able to ascend to being a full-time starter. But his best football is ahead of him. He has the traits. And then you have to take that talent and see if you can somehow turn it into consistent production off the edge.
Boy, I've seen him up close and personal the last couple of years watching Penn State, and I mean, he can be a bit of a game ender, too, with the way that he can provide that pressure, that constant. I mean, you watch that Michigan game, he was all over the field early on in that game, and against a pretty dang good. Now, look, they had to account for some injuries offensive line-wise, but, he's played against some good competition there at Penn State. The sack production, as you said, is minimal at this point in terms of a first-round type of player, but you hope that he finds that gear, right? Finds that finish, that polish.
He also didn't play a lot. Like, he was subbed in and out.
That'd be Adisa Isaac, then Dennis Sutton, all there. They rolled those guys through.
So he's still learning to play football. It's just that what he does, you just don't find on a football field. I mean, of all these rushers, and we've spoken glowingly about these rushers, and with good reason, they're all very, very good at different things that they do. But Chop Robinson has speed, bend, and explosiveness that you're not going to find. Jared Verse has explosiveness, but he doesn't have that kind of bend around the corner. And that's something where if you have a 6'7" tackle and Chop is way down low, cornering on you like a race car off the embankment, I mean, good luck trying to get your hands on.
That's actually a good analogy of it, too, with the way that he can really bend. 4.48 40-yard dash, 1.54 in the 10, which I know we talk about on Move the Sticks quite a bit as being a real important piece of the evaluation for an edge rusher. Vertical was 34.5.
Okay. And then the broad was high, I think.
But you know what's some interesting comparison, though, size-wise, when you look at Dallas Turner? They were very similar athletically in terms of their testing, right? Both 4.4 players. They're about the same height, 6'2" and 7/8 for Chop.
Arm length.
The wing for Chop is 76.25, whereas for Dallas Turner it was 83. That's 7 inches.
Yeah,
it's almost a full hand.
Well, it's significant when we talk about the pass rush skills because now Dallas Turner, because of that length, he has more options when it comes to being able to attack the offensive lineman. He can put his hand right in his chest and he can use that long arm to kind of steer and dictate how he wants to go. Whereas with Chop Robinson, he has to win right now with the initial burst. That's why he doesn't have the hand-to-hand combat skills that maybe some of the other guys have.
Yeah, I think there were 3 boomer bust players in this draft, and they're Drake May for me, and a lot of times it's going to be a quarterback. It's also going to be Chop Robinson, and then Latu, based primarily just because of the medicals. But with Chop Robinson, there's still a lot of football to learn for Chop, but I'm excited for his opportunity there and getting to sit for a little bit. I was worried that they were going to draft one of these speedy wide receivers, and no one was going to know what to do with the cornerback, like who matches up with who. Bucky, that's like a pickup basketball game where you don't want to pick up anybody. You don't want to. You don't want to go, I don't want to get Tyreek. I don't want to get Jalen Waddle. I don't want to get Xavier Thomas. But now that we have those 2 wide receivers out there, you see the Eagles are next up. They just signed both of their wide receivers to deals. So there's no way they're drafting wide receiver in this spot.
Yeah. 6 offensive tackles have gone, 6 offensive linemen, 4 edge rushers have gone, 5 defensive players in total. And all the corners are now available for the Philadelphia Eagles at 22.
Yeah, and that's a big need for them. Yeah, well, their 2 big needs are tackle and cornerback. Yeah. And I would be shocked if they don't go corner here. They have their choice of corners. I'd have to think it's Quinyon or Terrion Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be that. And if you think about what Vic Fangio typically likes to do, it's a little more man-to-man on the outside. So maybe that gives the nod to Quinyon Mitchell over Terrion Arnold.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're looking for the big-time traits, that's Quinyon Mitchell, right? He ran the 4.3 40. You know, I think there was some eyebrows being raised when Terrion Arnold ran the 4.5. You're like, oh, he'll run better at the pro day. It's kind of the same at the pro day.
That's what he is.
But he plays faster on tape, right? I mean, that's kind of what, is that what you've seen, Lance?
Well, yeah. I mean, how often does he get beat down the field? That's what you have to ask yourself is how many plays does he make on the football? One of the biggest mistakes I think that are made is how fast the guy is with makeup speed. Your DBs talk about makeup speed. Yeah. Well, I don't want to, if he, okay, makeup speed is one thing, but how is he playing the football?
Well, and he got a lot of work playing opposite Kool-Aid McKinstry coming off the phenomenal year that Kool-Aid had in 2022. So you factor all that in as well, and he performed very well with that extra work and those targets that were coming his way compared to what Kool-Aid McKinstry got for Alabama. So it is the Philadelphia Eagles making their pick at number 22 after they just gave A.J. Brown some $90-something million with $84 million guaranteed, highest paid receiver on average annual value. Now, do they upgrade the defense?
The NFL has gone global. This past year, we played games in front of amazing crowds in London and Germany. This upcoming season, we will play our first ever game in South America, in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And we will be coming to more markets on a global basis soon. The NFL's International Player Pathway Program helps foreign-born players reach the NFL. Elite international athletes have an opportunity to compete at the NFL level and potentially earn a spot on our NFL roster. One of the most successful players from the program is the Philadelphia Eagles' Jordan Mailata. Jordan is currently in his native Australia for the opening of a new NFL academy for high school football players. To make the Eagles selection, let's join Jordan live from the Eagles draft party in Burleigh Beach, Gold Coast, Australia. Take it, Jordan.
Let's go. How good is this? Thank you, Uncle Roger. Good evening to those of you from the beautiful land down under. With the 22nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Quinyon Mitchell, defensive back, Toledo. Go Birds, baby!
All right. Thank you, mate. Jordan Mailata, I think that pick came from the future. Isn't it like tomorrow in Australia? Or is it yesterday? I can't remember how that works. But Quinyon Mitchell comes out of the green room there in Detroit as the first cornerback off the board, which we expected. Looks like he's about done with all this pomp and circumstance.
Hey, he got into a good spot, though.
Yeah, buddy.
It stings now, but it ain't
gonna count on it
when those playoff shares start rolling in.
That's right. That's right. And this is a team that needs corner help in a bad way. After they tried to run it back with James Bradbury, there it is, and Darius Slay, and now going to get that opportunity to kind of be that next guy to help lock down some really talented receivers in the NFC East. We'll give you a smile. Come on, Quinyon.
Yeah, about his business, maybe.
Hey, but Bucky, how about, I mean, no question, this has been one of the biggest risers in the draft community in terms of buzz, in terms of, man, this guy has burst onto the scene. Good tape at Toledo. Senior Bowl really helped him, and then he blew it up at the Combine.
So this is really interesting with Quinyon Mitchell is just the way that he checked off all the boxes along the journey. This is a guy that was terrific during the regular season. When you watch the tape, you watch him at the Senior Bowl, feisty and competitive, knocks that out, dominates at the Combine. And then when you think about the fit going to Philadelphia, this is a perfect fit in the style of defense that Vic Fangio wants to play. He's a man-to-man corner. He can play but he can play bump, but he also can play off. He gives them that versatility that they want from a technical perspective to be able to have the defense that they want to have to blanket some of those NFC East rivals.
Yeah, and this is also what happens when you have 6 quarterbacks go.
Yeah, good players get pushed down the board.
And so good cornerbacks get pushed down the board. And you saw his competitive nature at the Senior Bowl. It was so much fun watching him react to players. He went from Toledo. He wanted to show everyone that he belonged. But he has the athletic profile. I think from a coverage standpoint, he can play man or zone. I honestly believe that if you needed to, he could match up as a bigger slot. If you want to throw Rome Odunze at him, for example, from the slot, Mitchell can slide right in with them without a problem because he has those kind of hips. So I think Quinyon Mitchell's a really good selection for the Eagles. Very, very fortunate to have him fall to that spot. And that doesn't happen unless all those quarterbacks get the big push that help push down rushers and cornerbacks in this draft.
Yeah, I think a really interesting spot here because I think we all at least expected one corner to be off the board at this point, maybe 2.
A run's coming.
A run's coming, but this is kind of the range where we thought they were going to go.
Sure.
I don't know if we thought there was a top 10.
Well,
we thought in the 20s.
And that's probably a reason for the calculus behind the trade with the Jaguars, moving out of 17 down to 23, 100%. Thinking they're going to get one of their top 2 corners.
Yeah,
there.
So when you make a move like that to drop down to 23, you have to look at your draft board and say, okay, there are about a handful of players that we like. And so no matter what happens, we can take that. And even though we're talking about corner, maybe don't dismiss the possibility of a wide receiver coming off the board right now, Brian Thomas.
At number 23 to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What do you work during the season?
Yeah. No, but I don't have any intel. I don't have a little birdie.
I
wish I had a little birdie to tell me. I don't have it.
This I do know for sure to put a bow on Quinyon Mitchell is that longest it has taken for a defensive back to come off the board since 1995 when Tyrone Poole and Ty Law went 22 and 23 consecutively.
So you also need to, it's interesting when you make your calculation about trading back, like we've all put Terrion Arnold here to the Jaguars in a billion straight mock drafts, right? It's an easy.
At 17.
Terrion Arnold at 17. Well, if you're going to trade back, you say 18 is not taking corner, Cincinnati. 19, the Rams probably weren't taking corner. 20, the Steelers could, but when you look at the board and who was available there, then you go to 21. And so you have to keep going down. But when you look at them, when you look at Jacksonville and what they need, of course, wide receiver is still a need for Trevor Lawrence, but cornerback is too.
Yeah, big guys are something that we know Trent Baalke is a fan of, right? It kind of goes that way early and often in drafts. And
I feel like I'm being left out of something here.
I don't. Yeah.
Crew here.
Well,
we're not supposed to tip.
So let's take a look at what's.
Oh no!
What's up, man?
He got pile drive yesterday. They jumped off of. They crashed him through a table on AEW. Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Look at him selling it with the neck brace.
Not fake.
Yeah,
See?
not fake.
Let's get that microphone. Is that a microphone?
Yeah,
What's happening here?
House.
Do you think that's a real, like, does he need, is he selling it? Is that a sell or does he need it?
It's always AEW, you never know.
World-class performers right there.
Whoa. Wrestling is not fake. It is a lot of, I mean.
Hey, when you jump off of stuff onto a table, if it's real in Buffalo with Bills fans, it's real in AEW.
Put some fire on it like they do in Bills Mafia, and then let's see how many guys we get jumping off into tables, okay, on AEW. I love it. All right, let's see who is coming off the top ropes to join the Jacksonville Jaguars as we take you back live to the draft hall in Detroit.
With the 23rd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, LSU.
All right. Birdies have been chirping in Bucky's ear.
Man. No birdies. But the Jacksonville Jaguars lost Kevin Ridley. They lost out on a playmaker, so they were determined to get someone on the outside that was big, fast, physical, and could give them that vertical element. This dude is the natural. When you talk to the coaches down at LSU, they just talk about how gifted he is. And look, the tape doesn't lie. This dude makes plays, puts 17 balls in the paint, led FBS when it comes to touchdowns. So now Trevor Lawrence has Christian Kirk. He has Gabe Davis, another big play threat. Brian Thomas goes to that. Evan Ingram. They now can push the ball down the field vertically. Got to keep those defenses from squatting on the covers like they were the last year or so.
Very calm, cool, collected walk out of the green room as now all the receivers have left the green room in Detroit. 4 were there to start the evening. It went off the board with Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals, Malik Neighbors to the Giants, Roma Dunze to the Bears, and now Brian Thomas Jr. to the Jacksonville Jaguars after they traded back in a move with the Minnesota Vikings, moving back 6 spots and still getting their man, Brian Thomas Jr. Take us through it there, Lance Zierlein.
Brian Thomas Jr. has tremendous speed. So when you watch the offense for LSU, he was able to work the deep middle. He was able to work down the sidelines, and wherever he worked, he was separating. And he has natural, easy, smooth speed so that he's got that separation potential. I think something that actually stood out about Brian Thomas, even ahead of Malik Neighbors, was his ability to win the jump balls in the end zone. I think that's one area where Malik can get a little bit better in the end zone, but with the catch radius and his ability to win the ball deep with his tracking and his rise above the rim, I think that's something that really is going to be an element that Trevor Lawrence loves. With this pick of Brian Thomas, last year, before the season started, the talk was about, man, Trevor Lawrence, what about that comeback against the Chargers?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then once the season got started, it's all C.J. Stroud. And so now the Texans are the new dog on the block. And with Trevor Lawrence, if you want to get the most out of the Trevor Lawrence that we're all waiting to see, this generational type talent, give him some wide receivers like Brian Thomas, and let's see what can happen. We've got Gabe Davis, who's a straight vertical guy, and now you got Brian Thomas, who can work a variety of routes. I really like that now you are giving your quarterback the best chance, I think, that he's had since being in Jacksonville of being an explosive passer by adding a player like Brian Thomas.
He'll go up and fight for it, too. Again, you see that. You watch that Ole Miss game where he had trio of led FBS in touchdown receptions this year. So he definitely knows how to put the ball in the paint there, Bucky Brooks. And as the Jaguars, in a matter of days, probably likely to pick up that Trevor Lawrence fifth-year option.
Oh, not only pick up the option, they're probably going to give him a big
bag. And now you want to see the fruits of that labor as you continue to add weapons around him. Dallas Cowboys are well into their allotted 10 minutes. Just 3 minutes left to make their pick, and we'll have it for you at number 24 overall when we come back here on Draft Center.
No, Terry Arnold. There's nobody left for Rush.
Back here with you on Draft Center, presented by FedEx. We are ready for trade number 3 now of the first round, and it does not involve the Minnesota Vikings, which the previous 2 did. It is the hometown team, Motor City. You are on the clock, and actually your pick is in. The Detroit Lions have traded with the Dallas Cowboys to acquire pick number 24. In fact, at this point, the Green Bay Packers are actually on the clock at 25. So the pick is in for the Lions. Who could they be making a move up for here? Did you expect a guy like Terry Arnold to still be on the board?
I think cornerback has to be on the board, whether it's Terry Arnold or Nate Wiggins.
Watch out for elbows when this pick is made. Brad Holmes is an excited man when he makes these selections. Dan Campbell caught a stray elbow when they took Jack Campbell last year. I forget whether it may have been their first pick with Jahmyr Gibbs, but
I bet
he almost took a knee after being next to Brad Holmes.
I bet you're right. I bet you it's Terry and Arnold because they've got a Meek Robertson right now at one cornerback spot. Kendall Vilder. You've got Emmanuel Mosley.
Had the issues. They released him.
Yeah, I mean this just makes sense. And they've been digging around on trade ups. I talked to some teams who said the Lions were really wanting to move up, but they wanted to move up even higher. And I think it was for Rush, but they couldn't get up that high. They do move up, and now when you look at why would they move up, the only position I can think of right now, what they'd be looking for, I mean, unless they're really worried about Frank Ragnow or the age of Kevin Zeitler, who they just added, yeah, they could go with the Graham Barton here. But, boy, they really need cornerback. I'd be hard-pressed not to see your choice of Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, or Terry Arnold.
Oh, Terry Arnold. Yeah. But I wonder I thought you had said Terry. In your mind, how big is the gap, Bucky, between Terry Arnold and a player like Kool-Aid McKinstry?
I mean, I think they're all similar. I think all those guys are closely graded. I think they're packed. I think that's the reason why we're seeing the corners go late, not early, because everyone probably viewed them more similar than different when it comes to the grading scale. I think they have their pick. The thing about it is they need someone that can come in and play man-to-man because they can get snugger. They want to play more man coverage. Nate Wiggins can certainly did it. He has the speed, but he has the physicality and the toughness to kind of play the brand of ball.
Who's the defense coordinator?
Aaron Glenn.
How did Aaron Glenn play his football?
I mean, he was fast and he ran around a little bit.
But he was up on you too.
Yeah,
he didn't. Aaron Glenn likes physical corners. He likes guys that are going to be in your face. Terry Arnold feels like the guy. It's not going to be Nate Wiggins, I wouldn't think, if they go corner.
It'll be a 3rd rounder this year going to the Cowboys for the Lions to move up these 5 spots. Lions do get a 7th rounder to complete the deal. 27th in pass defense a year ago.
I'm going to throw another name at you, but I mean, based on how the cornerback's looking at, I can't imagine they go away from cornerback. But one player who has been mentioned with them on mock drafts, and a guy that makes sense is Darius Robinson out of Missouri, who can play defensive end, defensive tackle. He's a hometown kid. He played defensive tackle his junior year, bumped outside to play defensive end, lost some weight. He can play either one of them. I mean, honestly, though, when you have these cornerbacks, boy, it'd be tough to pass up on the level of talent that is in cornerback right now.
I mean, our pal Daniel Jeremiah is Terry Arnold is his 8th overall player. This would be a tremendous value if you look at that chart there for the Lions at 24. And now the hometown crowd is going to get a chance to see the Lions make their 1st round selection. Let's get it out to Detroit as anticipation builds in the Motor City.
The Detroit Lions excel in engaging with local football community and growing football participation at the youth and high school levels. Joining me on stage are girls flag football players representing the first 4 schools that competed in the Michigan Girls Flag High School Football League and local high school football tackle students. These young men and women embody NFL values of respect, integrity, resiliency, and responsibility to their teams. Congratulations on your accomplishments in your academic and football careers. Now to make the selection, please welcome Ellie Fagley.
The Dallas Cowboys have traded the 24th pick to the Detroit Lions. With the 24th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Terrion Arnold, defensive back, Alabama.
Well, the first responsibility for Terrion Arnold will be to stick number 9 from King High School, who had some serious height on him out there with that crew announcing the Detroit Lions pick. But it's Terrion Arnold. The wait may be a tad longer than expected for a player many believe to be the number 1 corner in this year's class, despite a 40 time, a little bit higher than you'd normally see from a quarterback of that elite stature. He's got all the charisma, all the personality, all the toughness, and the battle-tested experience, Bucky Brooks, and pedigree coming from a Nick Saban defense you know he loves and demands a lot out of his DBs. And Terrion Arnold brings all of that in a big-time, energetic package now to the Detroit Lions as he puts that pick. And boy, what a special feeling to be picked by the team hosting the draft, getting ready to walk out on stage to an enormous roar from the Lions fans in attendance. Let's hear it. So a cool moment there, Buck, for Terrion Arnold as he now has his NFL destination.
Oh, he has his moment. This is a perfect fit for the Detroit Lions. This dude is super clean as a playmaker. I'm going to tell you, when you talk about Aaron Glenn and what they want on the perimeter, he checks off all the boxes. Tough, physical, terrific technician, high football IQ, and the personality. He can bounce inside, outside, loves the game of football, loves competing. When we had a chance to talk to him a couple of weeks ago, he just talked about really being in tune with Nick Saban and doing all the little things to be a great player. This is a guy that's going to come in. I expect him to play right away. And don't forget, but they took his teammate last year, the second round. It was the nickel corner they took last year.
Oh, Brian Branch.
Brian Branch.
Bama.
Yeah, so you start thinking about that, like the high IQ, trying to up the ante when it comes to the IQ in the secondary. He is someone that enhances what they already do in the defensive back.
Loves ball. And Aaron Glenn is going to be so excited about having a guy that loves ball like he does. And that was something we really got a chance to experience him at the Combine with when we got a chance to hear him and what he had to say about his family and his energy, his excitement. He's going to be somebody who is great in the locker room. Yeah. I think he's going to be a player that allows you to play in a slot or play outside. You do have to cover him up in certain situations because I don't think you want to put him out there against the speed burners. That could be a little bit of a problem. But he does have the ability to track the ball down the field, which he'll show here, and that's why he is a playmaker down the field. The thing that separates him from Kool-Aid McKinstry to me is McKinstry is the better athlete, and he's a little more smooth with his mirror and match footwork. But the guy who just makes more plays is Terrion Arnold. When the ball goes up, he treats it like he's a wide receiver, and he is going for a wide receiver. I remember, years ago listening to Ike Taylor when he was here. Yeah. And I asked him, I said, what was it like as a cornerback for you? What do you look for? He said, when the ball goes up, I want to see cornerbacks who go after the football like they're the wide receiver. And that's what Terrion Arnold does, is he thinks that football is his. He's not trying to play wide receiver unless he has to. He wants to go play football.
I love that. And I got a chance to talk to him a little bit at the Rose Bowl Media Day here in just a little ways from here in Pasadena. That is a dude that is confident. That is an energy giver to your locker room, to your defense. He's got the mental makeup, in addition to obviously all the skills and all the athletic traits that you want, but the mental makeup to be a corner on an island.
He does have that. I won't let him slide, though, because he challenged me to a little slam dunk contest. We had a little conversation on path to the draft, so I got to make sure that he
challenged you to a. Did you accept?
Did
you accept the challenge?
Why would I turn down some smoke? Like, we looked at his video and I told him I was a champion.
Terrion Arnold vertical.
Let's see if you can get Terrion's vertical.
It's going to be the first one here.
Bucky's vertical from back when he came out.
I mean, that's
37. 37 inch.
Hold
What
up.
was your vert? You get 40?
No, Bucky, no.
That's a cute little dunk. But like, what
Hey,
Bucky, talking about? What are we talking about?
Are we doing the running back flip?
I'm not doing running back flips. Like, we're dunking. Like, that. I mean, that's cute. Like, what we give that? Like a 35, 37? Like, what is that?
Jumping over Rhett and DJ
Oh,
right there.
my gosh.
That's actually
Lots of personality, though. He had a lot of buzz. I think Clayton and I kind of brought it out. And the nice gesture that he did with his janitor. Maybe I'll go nice.
Oh, I do love that. Yeah, signed his jersey. He brought it back to his high school.
Said he's going to have him come to his first game.
And is going to get that next jersey. So it'll be a Lions jersey.
That's great.
Going back to Terry and Arnold's high school. He is a super fun dude to be around. I think he fits what the Lions want, and that makes it. So now their division rival, the Green Bay Packers, looks like the pick is already in at 25, and they'll have their choice between offensive linemen if they want. Tyler Guyton is still there from Oklahoma.
We know it's not a wide receiver.
That's right. Not going to happen. Graham Barton, your 19th best player on the board, is still out there.
Yeah. Cooper DeJean right here. Can we get him?
Cooper DeJean.
It's a need also.
From Iowa to Green Bay.
They do have a bit of a pipeline where they're good with Iowa players. It's been very successful for them.
Sure.
So they still want to see Eric Stokes play his best football. You do have a situation where Anthony Johnson, they need safety as well. And there are plenty of people in this draft who think Cooper DeJean's a corner. Depends on your scheme. There's a lot of people who think his best football is going to be as a Harrison Smith type safety in the NFL as well. He is the type of guy who could come in quickly and pair really cleanly with Xavier McKinney if they wanted to do that.
There was also, there was a lot of kind of a weird year for Jair Alexander too, right? It was suspended, like how do they continue to feel about that?
That's actually a really good point.
With Stokes. I mean, that would be Cooper DeJean. Are we in agreement that should be the third off the board? Could they value Nate Wiggins? Could they value?
I think it's Kool-Aid
or Ennis Rakestraw
and Cooper are the next two corners off the board.
Okay,
I think Cooper's the best nickel defender, like whether using the corner.
Does he fit what they do at Green Bay?
I think so, because remember, Jeff Hadley takes over vision.
Wait is over. Here's the pick.
With the 25th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers and hosts for the 2025 NFL Draft select Jordan Morgan, tackle, Arizona.
Okay, Lance Zierlein, Jordan Morgan, not Guyton or Barton. How does he fit here?
Well, he's more experienced than Tyler Guyton, frankly. And he is a natural left tackle. He played left tackle over with Arizona. I thought his best football, he had a game against USC that I thought was tremendous in 2022. And then he tore his knee up at the end of the year, which he's still trying to come back from that knee. I didn't think he played his best football this year because you can see he's still trying to come back from the knee. But Jordan Morgan has a lot of talent, and he's experienced at left tackle. David Bakhtiari is gone. Tyler Guyton is inexperienced and has played primarily over there on the right side, so he'd have to make the switch to left. Jordan is more of a plug-and-play guy potentially right now, actually, than Tyler Guyton is. So I don't know if the upside is as high as Tyler Guyton's. But Green Bay, I think right here, they're banking on, they want to know the answer right now. They don't want to wait and find out if they got it right. I think they view Jordan Morgan as a safe left tackle.
And look, I think this really reflects how we thought about this offensive tackle class, the number of guys that have already gone. Jordan Morgan was the guy that we talked about potentially being on the line. First round, second round, he goes off the board, experienced player. Jordan Love, remember, Jordan Love is in line to get the bag very, very soon. Yeah. You got to make sure you build up the fortress around him so he can do what he does in the pocket.
Okay, so that means the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock at pick number 26. Could see this one going any number of ways. Looks like that pick might actually be in already. In fact, it is. So the announcement of the Bucs' first-round pick is on the way when we return and take you back live to Detroit here on Draft Center. Welcome back to Draft Center, presented by FedEx, as the 2024 NFL Draft rolls on, awaiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selection at 26. 2 picks ago, the Detroit Lions traded up with the Dallas Cowboys to make Terrion Arnold, the cornerback from Alabama, the newest Detroit Lion, and he is celebrating with hundreds of thousands of Lions fans in attendance. They have done a phenomenal job packing out the draft theater and the draft arena there near downtown Detroit. So super cool to see the hometown team make their selection. Now the Tampa Bay Bucks. We've talked about the possibility of defense here, but they are kind of in a prolonged retooling of their offensive line as well. Really, Tristan Wirfs, kind of the only mainstay there. They did take Cody Mauch last year in the second round, plug him in along that offensive line there at right guard. A lot of opportunity for improvement there, Bucky Brooks.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity for improvement. And remember, they signed Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield is their QB1 for the next few years. You want to make sure that he is able to play the style of game that's going to work for their offense. And so fortifying the offensive line, ensuring that he doesn't have people in his face, allow him to throw comfortably in the pocket, makes sense. They also have to improve as a run offense. They couldn't run the football at will. They need to be able to run the football to be able to dictate the terms. So this should be an offensive line.
Graham Barton, Tyler Guyton, Jackson Powers-Johnson.
Yeah, I think they're okay with Luke Gedeke at right tackle right now, and if not, they can bump him to guard. To me, this really boils down to their needs right now are cornerback, edge, and they're not going to draft edge. So cornerback, center, and guard are the big needs that I have on my list of needs. Graham Barton can play center or guard. I think that makes a lot of sense. But also, I'm not sure Zion McCollum is ready to handle that role on a full-time basis. For me, Kool-Aid McKinstry would make some sense here, or Graham Barton. I think those are the two natural fits in this spot.
Okay, so the commissioner is ready to begin his walk from the tunnel to the podium and has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selection in his left hand. On that card, the next Buck, hoping to get this Tampa team back to the postseason again. Here we go.
With the 26th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Graham Barton, center, Duke.
The wait is over for Graham Barton, one of the most versatile offensive linemen in this draft class here. Lance Zierlein, tell us about him.
He's the safest offensive lineman in the entire draft. He has played tackle, but can play guard or center. And what the 5-for-1 position flexibility, it's a very rare thing to see a guy who can play left tackle, right tackle, both guards and center. But Graham Barton has the ability to do that if he needs to get you out of a game at tackle. He is athletic enough as a move blocker to go out there and get blocks out on the perimeter. But where he really stands out to me is hand placement, is hand usage, is the ability to bend and leverage as a run blocker and pass protector. He can anchor up on the inside against strong guys. He has got he's a 6'4" tackle with interior lineman with about 33-inch arms, right in that neighborhood. But what's really actually sub 33. But what's impressive to me is when you have a guy who's played tackle in college and he steps inside, that's a big advantage from a pass pro standpoint.
Well, and he played center as a true freshman 19-year-old at Duke.
It's not a problem for him.
Yeah.
I really like this pick. It's not a sexy pick, but it's a needed pick, Buck.
Yeah, needed pick, versatility on the inside, high IQ player. You talk about being able to step right into the lineup and give them the immediate production. This is a high-performing player, someone who's smart. We had him on the podcast the other day. Very
nice.
impressive.
19 offensive players in tonight's first round, which ties the common draft era. Do the Arizona Cardinals make it 20 offensive players? They are ready for their selection at number 27. Also see a player like Johnny Newton go here to the Cardinals, or maybe another tackle. Let's see. Roger Goodell with the selection.
With the 27th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Darius Robinson, defensive tackle, Missouri.
And with that, the green room is empty on night one in Detroit. All 13 players who attended this year's draft have now exited the green room. And Darius Robinson, the 13th, as he goes 27 overall to the Cardinals. There was some talk, does he end up in the first round? Bit of a fringe there. Does he go top of the 2? That beautiful sport coat is now headed to the desert there in Phoenix, as the Arizona Cardinals have made kind of one of the real interesting kind of position flex type players in this year's draft. Their selection at 27, their second first-round draft pick. He will follow Marvin Harrison Jr. to Arizona. And so Trader Monty stands and sticks and picks at both 4 and 27. And they get a potential cornerstone on both sides of the ball there with Harrison and now Robinson at number 27.
Detroit.
Saw him at
Detroit.
Oh. Got a bonus announcement from the commissioner? Nope, here we go. High five. And there you go. All right, Lance, take us through Darius Robinson, big player that you could really kind of group anywhere as an edge player or as an interior type of player along the D-line.
Darius Robinson, you have to go back and watch 2022 as well because he was a defensive tackle there. He is a great-looking player physically. Long arms, he's well-muscled, not a lot of body fat, trimmed down into about the 285 range, played out at defensive end this year. You know, he's not a natural defensive end type rusher, but if you reduce him down into defensive tackle, oh, he's got that ability. He's a good athlete, but most importantly, he's got the even front, odd front flexibility. And Bucky, you can talk about that. In this era of hybrid football, the ability to change up where you're playing a guy, whether he's a 5 technique, if he's a base end, if he is down as a 3 technique, or maybe even lining up right there as a 1 technique because you think he's too quick for the guys in the interior. Players like Darius Robinson, who used to be tweeners, are now hybrid flexibility guys.
Yeah, hybrid flexibility is what he brings to the table. He is someone who spent most of his career as a defensive tackle before kicking outside to end this year. We see the pass rush ability, but really what I like about him is, to me, he is a solid base end, meaning he's going to be really good against the run. He can give you the pass rush ability, but he's more of a complement than the guy that is the tone setter on the edges, but a really good football player, high motor intensity. He brings a lot to the table.
Todd Bowles is going to like him a lot. Not Todd Bowles, but
Arizona.
Arizona's going to like him a lot because he's a tone setter. He's a very physical player, and
Jonathan Gannon's going to love him.
Yeah, and they're trying to find core players right now. Arizona's roster, when you look at it, I mean, there's holes all over the place, and they do have a lot of different draft picks. But this is a physical player who is a tone setter that you're getting in the first round. It helps that he plays 2 different positions from a football standpoint, but every new coach, every new regime, every time you're trying to build, you want to build toughness in the trenches, and he's a toughness in the trench type player.
Okay, so we have 27 picks in the books, and we have a trade. Interesting.
Ooh.
The Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock. Stand by. Lance has got a thought. He's got an intuition as to the motivation behind this trade for the Chiefs, and we'll have their selection at number 28 as they traded with the Bills when we come back. Welcome back. Draft Center, presented by FedEx, takes you inside the draft room with the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. The back-to-back champion Kansas City Chiefs. Does this pick here at 28, moving up 4 spots, help them achieve the back-to-back-to-back three-peat? They're the details of the trade. Obviously, the 28 to 32 swap, trading with the Bills. The Bills and Chiefs then essentially swap a 3rd rounder for a 4th rounder. The Bills get that 3rd rounder while sending a 4th to Kansas City, and then they essentially swap slots in the 7th round, 221 to 248 there. So that's how that trade works out. Those details from Ian Rappaport. Rhett Lewis, Bucky Brooks, Lance Zierlein back here with you as we are nearing completion of night 1 of the draft in Detroit. We've actually had some real fun Detroit flair in the last couple of picks. Lions trading up to 24 to draft Terrion Arnold, and then the hometown kid who grew up a Lions fan, Darius Robinson, was just the last pick announced by the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously played his collegiate ball at Missouri. So now it's the Chiefs at 28. Why'd they make this move up, do you think, Buck?
Ooh, man, like we would like to think that they're going to get a pass catcher, but I don't think that's it. Lance has talked about like their ability, their willingness or their desire to upgrade the offensive line. So maybe there's an offensive lineman here that they're really looking for, someone that they want.
Best player on your board right now, Lance Zierlein, is Nate Wiggins, followed by Kool-Aid McKinstry. They did just lose L'Jarius Sneed.
They did. I would think Kool-Aid over Wiggins, just because they were such a good tackling secondary.
Cooper DeJean's still out there,
and you know, I think they liked what Jalen Watson did as a rookie last year. Or 2 years ago, I should say, and then Josh Williams as well. I know they like him in the 4th round. You've got Trent McDuffie, who's fantastic.
In the nickel, though, right?
You know, what happens with Rashee Rice? Like, that's a big question mark when you look at that. Marquise Brown, you've got a small, fast guy that you've added to the mix. Do you go Xavier Legette and go with the big wide receiver? Is that something you might do? Adonai Mitchell, would you look at A.D. Mitchell as a big target as well?
With speed, 4th.
This one's tricky. Yeah. This one's a tricky one to me. I'm not sure what they have in mind.
All right, special pick here as we take you back live to Detroit.
The NFL is proud to support the life-changing wishes that Make-A-Wish grants. One important wish was requested by a young man by the name of Justin Laverne, who was diagnosed with renal failure at age 15 and received a kidney transplant from his father just last year. Justin's love for football and the Chiefs got him through those treatments. Please welcome Justin to the stage, whose wish is to announce the 1st-round draft pick for his beloved Kansas City Chiefs. I'd like all of you to join me in cheering on Justin as his wish comes true. The floor is yours, Justin. Go get him, baby.
The Buffalo Bills have traded the 28th pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. With the 28th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, select Xavier Worthy.
Speed, and hey, look, he's more than just a one-trick pony now, Bucky. But that 4-2-1 certainly stands out.
Well, that 4-2-1 makes you back up. And let's be honest, the Kansas City Chiefs are back-to-back champions, but the offense has not been the same since Tyreek Hill departed. Tyreek Hill was the vertical element, the playmaker, took the top off the defense, made it easy for everyone else. Now you get someone who has that speed to really create opportunities for the other guys working underneath. No, we don't know what's going to be the status of Rice, but we do know this guy on the outside, he's going to command a lot of attention. He's going to open up the field and maybe help Travis Kelce get some more easy layups.
Well, you know, Andy and those guys, they saw how easy life was, how much better life was when Tyreek Hill and that kind of speed was on the field. As soon as he steps on the field, safeties have to back up. They have to account for him. You can't stop the run as easily. You can't drop somebody extra in the box. You need a shade coverage if you're going to play any, single high. You better be shading in his direction. It helps the running game. It's going to help the wide receiver on the other side. It can help Travis Kelce. It's the ancillary benefits of speed that I think often go unlooked. But when you want to talk about the wide receiver himself, You know, when we saw what Tank Dell did at Houston for the Texans, he had 7 touchdowns before he got hurt and out for the year, and he doesn't have the speed that you have with Xavier Worthy. But Xavier Worthy's not a stiff-hip, straight-line speed guy like Valdez-Scantling was. We're talking about a wide receiver who can bend and break it, who can shake at the top of the route, and beat you out of stems. And I mean, he's got instant separation ability at multiple levels, not just a build-up speed vertically. We're talking about somebody who can get open. And if there's one thing, Bucky, that's been unusual to see, and they don't follow the mode, it's Kansas City does what Kansas City does. They don't care about getting the basketball team, as you say. Yeah. They've got Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. They don't care. They don't care.
Well, and I think a lot of people, kind of say, oh, they had to go get a receiver because of Rashee Rice's impending discipline from the league due to the car incident that he's had here. I don't view that as this. That's why they did this. They might have done this even with they're different players now.
Oh, no, I don't think what happened with Rice had any impact.
But kind of interestingly enough, this was initially brought up by our producer, Drew, is the Bills and Chiefs traded, which just allowed the Chiefs to move up 17 spots to get Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of interesting to see now they allow him perhaps to get another big-time weapon as those two teams kind of fight for AFC supremacy and to get back to the Super Bowl. So some interesting symmetry there. But now the Cowboys have made their pick at 29 after allowing the Lions to move up to their original spot at 24 just a few picks ago. So the Lions moved to 24, Cowboys back to 29, and that's the pick that is set to be announced by Commissioner Roger Goodell right now to that rocket. Oh, gotta grab, fumble. Ball security. And let's see where the Dallas Cowboys go to continue their all-in trend.
With the 29th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Guyton, tackle, Oklahoma.
So there you go. That was I kind of thought that maybe they weren't as interested in the interior players in the first round as some had kind of suggested early on, and they get a guy in Tyler Guyton here who provides them some future here, Lance, at tackle.
So you have to find out what Detroit's doing, right? Yeah. In the trade up, they tell you what they're going to do. Then you start running the math on everything. They may have gotten a little nervous there when the Chiefs traded up, but really good job, smart job by the Dallas Cowboys of moving back and still getting a tackle that many of us had targeted to the Dallas Cowboys. So Tyler Guyton is a high ceiling player, but he's got to play more football. There's no way to speed up the process for him. He hasn't played enough football yet to be able to really understand all the tricks that are going to be thrown his way by the NFL rushers. Some of the push-pull stuff that he's going to have to take on, Bucky, that's going to be new to him. But he's long. He's got the athleticism to play on the right side or the left side. And I think as he learns the position, and it's going to be his ascension to becoming a really good tackle could be very, very fast.
Yeah, it could be very fast. Former tight end making a transition. You think about what the Cowboys have been able to do with offensive linemen in the past. Some of the guys, like even the guy they took from Tulsa, wasn't a polished guy, but then he gets to Dallas and he plays really well. So maybe Guyton can be on a similar track, gives them the versatility to play right tackle, left tackle. They may not have to move Smith outside.
And look, the Cowboys get back to their roots, right? This run that had brought them to the top of the division a number of times was really keyed when they went heavy on offensive line. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, and now went back to that well last year with Tyler Smith, and now kind of continue to rebuild that Great Wall of Texas right there in front of Dak Prescott, at least for this year, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of where we've gone with that. We're going to play on that last year of the deal and see what happens after this. So the Baltimore Ravens, the AFC North champions for the first time since 2019, have made their pick.
Well, it'd be shocking. Here's like Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Bama player falls into their lap.
A Bama player falls right into their lap. You've got Cooper DeJean, who could be somebody they could take a look at here. I'm trying to. Just off the top of my head, I guess.
I think it feels like a player they could throw.
Yeah, A.D. Mitchell, who has a lot of talent, but would they go
first-round receivers?
I don't think they could do that again. But they're in a good position here, and if they do want to get a cornerback, and they love Bama players,
that corner makes a ton of sense here. Marlon Humphrey has been a really good player for them. Dealt with some injuries last year.
Ravens' needs are
an old school looking board right there.
They need a
handwritten on there, Buck.
Yeah,
what do we got?
That's how you do it. Yeah, Magnus and all that. You don't need.
Oh, that's our Magnus. Yeah.
Ozzy's still in the room, sitting at the head of the table right there.
So they need an offensive tackle, but I don't think they're going to find one here. They need a rush, an edge rusher. Doesn't really seem to be one here. An offensive guard. This could be a selection where you take a look at Jackson Powers Johnson.
There you go. It's
Jackson Powers Johnson, who can play center or guard. So you could, and you just
they don't need a center. They got Linderbaum.
No, but they need the guard. Yeah, they need the guard. So that could be a position for them, but they also need corner. So I think right now you look at maybe the big man from Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson, or you take a look at Kool-Aid McKinstry. That would be my guess here.
You think Kool-Aid over Nate Wiggins at this point for a team like the Ravens?
I do, based on the way the Ravens draft and their profile, I think so. I think Nate Wiggins, I've kind of had a belief that he could slide out of the first. Kind of a, he's 170 some odd pounds, and we saw with Emmanuel Forbes, he was 166 last year. When you're 30 pounds lighter than Bryce Young, that's jarring to say that out loud and to hear it. And he really had a hard time last year. I know, like 30 pounds lighter than Bryce Young, who we talked about being so small. And Emmanuel Forbes really had a lot of problems last year in the NFL. And I think that could scare some teams with Wiggins, who is very talented, blazing fast, great feet, great athleticism, good football player. But is that outlier at 170 some odd pound cornerback? Is that something the Ravens would have take a bite out of?
Plenty of speed, but yeah, that's for sure. And then, is Kool-Aid McKinstry going to need to have that foot fixed at some point?
Yeah.
Does that factor into a decision here? Ultimately, you expect he's going to be fine. He obviously ran pretty fast dealing with that Jones fracture in his foot throughout this process. Here's Commissioner Roger Goodell with the 30th pick.
With the 30th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Nate Wiggins, defensive back, Clemson.
Guess they do want that bite.
They wanted that speed, huh?
I guess they do want that bite.
Yep.
Well, look, as a football player, he's up there a little bit on my list because I think Nate Wiggins is just a really good cover corner. I mean, on tape, he was probably the best pure cover corner on tape, and he's very, very fast. The questions you have with Nate Wiggins is he big enough to hold up against NFL tackles or wide receivers? And when teams decide to target him in the run game, how is he going to handle himself from a durability standpoint, and can he get guys down as a tackler? I don't think he's going to be a great tackler in the run game. I think the run game is going to be an issue for him. But, man, he has unbelievable makeup speed, very fluid in the hips, able to mirror and match out of the back pedal. He's not going to be outrun. You can throw him on whoever you need to, and he can handle the speed down the field. So Nate Wiggins is I like him as a corner. I'm a little surprised because I don't feel like that's the Ravens type of cornerback. But, from a talent standpoint, it's there. I felt like that 175-pound cornerback might be something that could get him bounced out of the first round.
Yeah, it's not the typical corner that the Baltimore Ravens select, but he's a really good player, turns the transitions are smooth. He does all the things in the coverage game that you like to see, but the physicality and toughness has to show up on tape.
Yeah, no question. And look, he does some great work off the field as well. He's very aware of where he comes from and the difficulty, folks in his position have had at getting to the stage that he is on right now. So a guy who certainly has some awareness and appreciates what he's done and the accomplishment that this means to him and his family. Nate Wiggins to the Ravens, who is headed to San Francisco, be the next pick for the faithful when we come back here on Draft Center. Draft Center, presented by FedEx, returns you to Detroit, where the pick is in for the 49ers, which means the final pick in the first round of this 2024 NFL Draft, belonging to the Buffalo Bills, is now in the process of being made. We are just under 10 minutes left to go there for the Bills to make that 32nd and final selection. But number 31, we are on the cusp of learning who that's going to be. And this is an interesting one here, Bucky, because at 31, we've seen a run on defense here in the second half of this first round. Corners are still out there. Kool-Aid McKinstry is still out there. We've talked about Ennis Rakestraw maybe getting into the first. We've had the defensive lineman, Johnny Newton, is still out there. I think the edge guys have mostly gone at this point.
Yeah, the board has been picked clean.
We've already tied the record for offensive tackles. 8 have gone. Center is still there, and JPJ Jackson Powers Johnson.
I think they would prefer to have an offensive tackle if they could have got it. There's no offensive tackle there, so now it has to be one of the corners. Thinking about Kool-Aid, Enos Rakestraw, and then Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean, correct, still
someone
there,
on the outside, but it should be someone in the defensive backfield because they really struggled in that area last season, and then maybe they can come back and attack the offensive tackle position on day 2.
Does the issues with Brandon Ayuk determine what they may do here? Do they view him as a potential move maybe on day 2 of the draft? Do they keep him throughout the draft?
Wouldn't you think that a player of that caliber in Ayuk and or Deebo Samuel, who had kind of come back into the trade conversation lately, you would have seen a trade like that for a
Day
team
1.
tonight because you wanted that capital, right?
Typically so, but he's going to want a new contract, so there's a sliding scale. The more money you have to pay, the less value you get with draft picks. So you could use him as draft capital for, or as trade capital to get an early second-round pick. Really what I'm asking, though, is would you look at A.D. Mitchell?
Yeah.
It would be the guy that you say, okay, we can bring him in here in place of Juan Jennings and have him eventually take over for Brandon Ayuk. I think it's a bit of a long shot based on the need at cornerback there.
Here's the pick.
With the 31st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver, Florida.
Hot dang! Ricky Pearsall, 42-inch vert. 4.3 40, 4.4 40. Extreme athlete. Great route polish. Tell us about him, Buck.
Love him. Love his game. This is a route runner extraordinaire. He has all the tricks of the trade when it comes to getting open over the middle of the field. Great hands, great ball skills. Really has mastered the craft and the art of getting open. This is a big-time playmaker, someone that can get it done, has the run-after-catch ability that the Niners love. Maybe, just maybe, this is a signal, a smoke signal.
Yeah.
All right, Lance, you were starting to feed into it.
Yeah, I think Brandon Ayuk is going to be on the way out, and I think Ricky Pearsall, I mean, that's the catch of the year. That catch that he made was absolutely, I didn't know I was going to run into it when I watched tape, and I probably spent about 34 minutes on it. It was unbelievable. Ricky Pearsall, from a separation standpoint, Ricky Pearsall is as good as anybody in this draft is separating, other than maybe, the pure speed of Xavier Worthy and Malik Neighbors. But Ricky Pearsall has very good hands. You can't guard him in the slot. And then he's got the ability, I think, to win physically against smaller nickels and then separate against bigger players as well. And then what really impressed me was what he did at the Combine. I think that's what pushed him into the first round for San Francisco is he ran a 4.41, jumped over 40-inch vertical leap. I mean, this is an elite athletic profile for Ricky Pierce, and that's what pushed him into the first round. People say Combine doesn't matter. Combine matters.
Oh, yeah.
Combine matters, trust me.
And a little bit more of a compact, kind of physical body than a player like Ladd McConkey, who we also kind of thought was in this group.
They were compared similarly, but if you like Ladd, well, do you like a bigger, faster Ladd?
Right.
Because Ricky is kind of bigger and faster.
Yeah, I mean, they're right there. I mean, Ladd ran 4.39, I think, ended up. But yeah,
did he run that fast?
Yeah,
he got down.
Yeah.
Wait a minute now.
Wait
a minute now. With the 30.
He jumped 38 in a vert.
Look what we have right now.
Yes, we have it. An interesting one-spot trade, unless they didn't hang on to 33.
I'm not sure why we did this.
Okay, yeah, they moved one spot. So that's how about?
So what does Buffalo need? They need
wide
two
receiver or
positions.
corner.
But we all know they need wide receiver.
Yeah.
The first pick, there had been talk about they were looking at Ladd McConkey or Xavier Legette with a lot of people have said, take a look at this at 33.
Oh, the Panthers.
So I think the Panthers right now, the Bills say, we're about to take a receiver, and the Panthers say, we'll give you 4th, 5th, whatever they're going to give them. And maybe they jump up and get the wide receiver they're going to take at 33.
Any gamesmanship there from a veteran GM and Brandon Beane and a first-year GM and
Joe
Dan
Dean
Morgan?
pulled it off earlier tonight.
Hey, look, this is where it's going. Who's
Joe Douglas and the Jets.
Is that somebody wearing a Dan Morgan jersey in the draft room?
Wouldn't surprise me.
55?
Oh, yeah.
Who is that? I love it. I love it.
What if that was Dan Morgan wearing his own jersey?
Oh,
I mean, it's not. But
that'd have been a tough look.
Dan Morgan?
Tough look.
What if that was Dan
That's a
Morgan?
baller move right
What
there.
if that was Dan Morgan wearing his own jersey?
Wear your own jersey?
Oh, my
one
God.
spot. 30 from the. Usually you get calls at 33 for teams wanting to move
rare.
up. This is really rare.
This is really rare, and the only thing I can think is that you just said we have to have this guy. Like
you don't want to lose him.
You don't want to lose him.
You don't want to lose whoever the player is. So
I mean, unless it's a corner, it could also be a corner. I mean, opposite J.C. Horn, I guess. It could also be like a Kool-Aid McKinstry or Cooper DeJean, but you know, everyone looks at.
Dean's still there. Maybe that's surprising.
But Justin Shorter right now is the outside wide receiver for Buffalo. It just that does not compute for me.
They don't believe that they needed a wide receiver. They said that
they could have taken Worthy.
They said they didn't believe they needed a number one receiver. They feel like Josh Allen can elevate whoever they bring in. So they're ready for him to do his Pat Mahomes
A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Legette, Ladd McConkey. Those are 3 wide receivers to take a look at here. And if you're going corner, I would think it's obviously Cooper DeJean and Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah.
I would think it has to be one of those 5 players.
I mean, Canales was going nuts in the draft room, the new head coach there in Carolina.
I mean, you must really want this guy.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, to move up one spot with a team who, are you going to take this guy?
But you also get a 5th-year option on him.
That's true.
You also get
that is part of the calculus
here. And if it's a wide receiver, and you know how expensive, if you hit on that wide receiver, they get awfully expensive awfully quick. It's nice to have that 5th year on them.
It's an interesting one. Really is. Going from 33, first pick of the 2nd round, to 32, last pick of the 1st round, and last pick of this evening in Detroit, one that has been filled with drama. Plenty of big surprises, like number 8, when Atlanta took Mike Penix. And actually, the lack of trades early was a little bit of a surprise. J.J. McCarthy ends up going to the Minnesota Vikings, but at number 10, not all the way up there at 4 or at 5. And the Carolina Panthers, who we didn't expect to hear from until tomorrow night, now will close down tonight from Detroit with the first pick of the Dan Morgan / Dave Canales era there for the Panthers. And Roger Goodell is ready to close it down.
The Buffalo Bills have traded the 32nd pick to the Carolina Panthers. With the 32nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Xavier Legette, wide receiver, South Carolina. That closes the 1st round. Thank you, Detroit, for a record-setting night. Don't forget, over the next 2 days, you can break the all-time NFL draft record. Thank you. See you at 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
All right. So, wasn't this all in the news? Bucky brought it up. Dave Canales told Xavier Legette that he was going to take him.
Pick you. He said it. He told
But then Dave also said that I told that to about 50 different prospects.
Wow.
So.
After his cover was blown, that's what happened. But look, last year the Carolina Panthers took Jonathan Mingo, hoping that they could get a body playmaker on the outside. Didn't necessarily play much, didn't work out. So now they go back to the well. This guy was a terrific one-year player for South Carolina. Not one-year player, but he had a revelation in his final season at South Carolina where he really exploded, became the big-time vertical threat, caught the ball, he's physical. He just adds another weapon to the arsenal for the Carolina Panthers as they help Bryce Young take a huge step in year 2.
71 catches, just over 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns there for Legette.
I had a scouting director comparing to Anquan Bolden. He just said, look, he's faster than Anquan, but he said the way his attitude on the field, his competitiveness, his physicality, he said he plays a lot like Anquan used to play. And Anquan was a 4.740 guy. Xavier Legette ran much better. But this is basically what we're talking about. Carolina had him circled. They knew where they were going, and they didn't want a chance of losing him to Buffalo. Buffalo gave a little bluff and said, you know what, we'll give you an extra little pick here. Take your little pick, Buffalo. We're getting our guy. We're not taking any chances, and we're getting a fifth-year on him, fifth-year option.
And Bucky, I think that's kind of interesting because for the Bills, if he was their guy, they wouldn't be moving off that pick. So they feel pretty good about wherever
they let it come to them.
Yeah, they feel pretty good about who's going to be available day 2. They feel like maybe they can get a receiver in the second or the third round to complement it. But to me, it says that the Buffalo Bills believe in Josh Allen's ability to elevate the playmakers around him. We'll see if they're proven right.
And, that does it for Carolina. There were no second rounder, no third rounder. That was going to be their pick. That was the big pick for them.
Did they give up 39? Because they had 39. So
that doesn't do it for them. They're still drafting. You're 100% right. I think I've already. You know why I say that? Because I've already given them Edgerrin Cooper. So congratulations.
Okay. All right, there it is.
In my mock draft, I've already
teaser for the Lance.
I've already my mock draft 2.3. I do a mock draft second and third round. I stay up all night long for you guys, and so I will have that out. I'll finish it tonight. Edgerrin Cooper's already been drafted by the Carolina Panthers at 39, so congratulations to Texas A&M's Edgerrin Cooper and to the Panthers for getting that speedy linebacker.
So we don't have the details yet on the Panthers trade, do we? We do? What do you got? Let's see. We're working. This is real time for you here, folks. We're working on it. It's coming.
So Carolina gets their receiver. And you know what? Good for – it's funny. I had a conversation with somebody from the Texans on the way to the Combine and asked about Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. And I said, how do you think Bryce Young would have done in the offense? They said, good. He would have been a good player. And it really just goes to show you – now, they thought C.J. would have been better. But it really just goes to show you that where you land is very important. And for Bryce Young, it's important that they find his guy. Yeah. Like, you really need to find somebody who's Bryce's guy very, very quickly so that you don't get him too down. You got to be able to protect him first and foremost, but you got to give him a big target that he feels comfortable with.
So the Bills, essentially, to do this, they move down one spot, and then they move up 59 spots on day 3 from 200 to 141. That's basically what it was. A 6th and a 5th round swap to move up that one spot.
Okay.
To make that selection. So the Panthers, correct me if I'm wrong, JT, but will be up again at 39 and 65. So that is correct. So there you go. We'll see the Panthers again on day 2, just not at 33. The Bills will have that first selection. But 32 are in the books. And with that, it is time for FedEx Air and Ground players to watch as we enter tomorrow here, Lance Zierlein.
Jonathan Brooks, this is my favorite running back in the draft. I think if this were any other year and he hadn't torn his ACL, he would have been in consideration at the back half of the first round. He's got loose hips. He works the interior extremely well. He's got great bend, quick feet. He can stack cuts on cuts on cuts. He's got very good vision. And for me, he's one of the smoothest running backs in this entire draft. I think whoever gets him is going to get a very good running back. Is coming off the ACL, but also has about 238 carries in his entire career. So not a ton of tread off the tires. That's one of the things you like about Jonathan Brooks. And he's also a good running back, a good wide receiver out of the backfield too. So something to keep in mind. And he will go in the second round tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
To the Cowboys.
Yeah, there you go. What do you got for us here, Bucky, on something you're excited to see?
We need to see a safety go. Tyler Nubin needs to go. I mean, I would always talk about Cooper DeJean, but I want to go to another player in the Big Ten. Tyler Nubin, the best pure center field safety in this draft class. 13 career interceptions, always around the ball. I'm excited to see where he goes on day 2. This is a playmaker, and as the league is trending, obviously with all these offensive players coming off the board, you better have someone that can take away the deep ball. Tyler Nubin does it better than anybody else in this draft class.
Okay, so Tyler Nubin would be the first safety off the board. Did not get one on night 1. Did not get a running back. Did not get an off-ball linebacker. Expect those groups to come off the board here. Guys, maybe biggest surprises that didn't go in round 1, Cooper DeJean, one of them.
For me, Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid not going, one. And then Johnny Newton had some ability to go in the first round as well.
Mitchell, too. A.D. Mitchell started to get some love at the end of the process where we thought maybe he was sneaking to the back end of the first round.
Yeah, anybody else that we missed there? I'm just looking at, let me go back to your top 300 here, Lance. And
no, this is pretty much. Yeah, I mean, the guys we mentioned.
Jackson Powers Johnson.
Yeah.
Jackson Powers Johnson is a bit of a surprise because we talked about him being a first rounder for sure.
I thought he was a second. I mean, the only guys that really surprised me from my grade standpoints, and if we go off just purely my grades, would be
Kool-Aid
McKinstry, just off the grades because I had a 64 on him. Yeah. And Cooper I had a 63 on, which is usually an early second. But I did think he'd go first because he has corner safety flexibility.
And then guys,
good players still available, man. Really good players early in the second.
Guys that come into the first round that maybe we didn't expect. Ricky Pearsall certainly fitting that bill. Jordan Morgan from Arizona ended up going in the first round. So overall, an entertaining night if there ever was one here. Trades, quarterbacks, a record-setting night both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball for different reasons. Caleb Williams got it started. 5 more quarterbacks heard their name called. We didn't get a defensive player off the board until the midway point of the first round at number 15 when Laiatu Latu earned that billing as the first defensive player. Plenty more to come, of course, as we are back here with you at 7 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow.